What's going on? 6 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Former Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins planning to sign with the Chargers on a one-year deal. Electric when healthy. Dobbins, who averaged 5.8 yards per carry in his career, reunited with Greg Roman, contests the market again next March. Teams are wrapping up their top 30 visits this week, with the Vol getting some play in Miami as wide receiver Ramel Keaton visiting the Dolphins. Keaton caught 35 balls for 642 yards and 6 touchdowns last year in Tennessee. And 2 more play-in games down after last night. The Bulls take out the Hawks 131-116. Chicago Bulls guard Alex Caruso has a significant left ankle sprain, and his availability versus Miami on Friday is in doubt. The 76ers, speaking of the Heat, 76ers eke out against the Heat, 105-104. Miami Heat start Jimmy Butler, feared to have an MCL injury in his knee. That injury could sideline Butler for an indefinite amount of time. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once, your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Thursday morning, you are through the halfway point of your week, and we're coasting into Friday Junior on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast. Ladies and gentlemen, we have gotten to the final week until the 2024 NFL Draft. 7 more days with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. 615-737-1045 is how you join us. What's up?
Not much, man. We're a week away, man. 7 days, however you want to call it. Mike Vick away. Whoever number you love, man, drop it. We are on the clock, and I can't be more excited for that day to come, y'all.
I know that it's exciting getting to this point with the NFL draft, with just all the prep and all the drafts and all the good analysis that we've had on this show. But there's something about just getting to that point and then waiting for that moment. And I'm super excited for the first round and to see especially what can happen early on, because I just feel like every day now leading up to it, and part of it is Season of Lies, but there's a different scenario coming out about a trade or possibly 4 quarterbacks in a row for the first time. So, and then there's anticipation, of course, here with, will the Titans have the opportunity to take Alt? And if not, who do they go with? So pretty exciting.
I will also say, too, as far as the Season of Lies, it hadn't been much lying, I feel like, this time around. I feel like it's been a little bit more chill, other than guys getting in trouble here and there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it hasn't been too much dumb speculation, or either I hadn't been paying attention to it. The quarterback conversation is high on the list, I think, if we're going to talk about Season of Lies and stuff like that. But legitimately, is more settled. I think the Coach Mack sent me an article yesterday talking about, Bill Belichick speaking about how you generate buzz. Like, a lot of it's coming from the agents. I think a good bit of this is the agents are actually trying to sell their players to teams and not do it through the media and stuff like that. It hadn't been crazy. Like, only egregious, I ain't going to call it egregious, but J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix Jr. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the 3 dudes that I think are controlling most of the rumors around right now, but not crazy.
Yep, just the quarterbacks, it seems.
Always a quarterback draft.
This is the worst part of the draft process, isn't it?
Yeah.
The last week, there's no new information other than what agents and teams want us to believe is new information. Because the draft boards were set over the weekend, and Bryant told us yesterday that it's kind of a chill week for executives. Once those top 30 visits end this week, they're playing golf, they're hanging out. Like, the hay is in the barn, so to speak.
Yeah. All they're waiting on to see if somebody slips up here or there, a team want to call and negotiate. And I think next week they'll do a simulation inside the building. That's got to be, I won't say it's fun because I'm sure it's a high stressful moment right there, but there's got to be something to see right there. And I don't think cameras can ever get behind the scenes to see something like that because
cool
you just give it up a little bit too. You're giving up too much information. That's one thing I do think the NFL does at times is give up a little bit too much information because I still hadn't watched the in-season. I hadn't watched much of the in-season Hard Knocks or whatever. As players, I'll say this. Maybe it's not too much information, but as players, we talked about, are they oversaturating the NFL, content? But this day and age, everybody wants a piece of something. The NFL is trying to grow to $27 billion by 2027. So I think they're probably going to eclipse that with some of the deals that they're doing.
And I'll tell you this, whatever they're doing, whether it be the Hard Knocks or miking up certain players in certain times, whatever they do, it continues to work because this is the league that continues to grow, generates the most money, gets the most buzz. Whether it be a Taylor Swift storyline throughout the season, it's just wild to me how the NFL, continues to just be the big boy amongst all of the other sports.
Mm-hmm. It is. This morning also, you catch a routine. This morning, go hit the gym, leave, and I order a cup of coffee from this establishment, right? And I pull up, and when you go to somewhere, you often, right, they somewhere either know your order, especially if you keep it the same over a long amount of time.
Especially if you're Ramon Foster.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's probably the case, too. Because I'm like, hey, how y'all doing? And they're always happy and stuff like that. Unless you're also Will Bowling. But with that being said, I pull up to grab my coffee this morning. The lady was like, "Hey, did you order this right?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" Well, you added it. I added chocolate malt powder to it just to add some chocolate flavor. She was like, "Well, you added something new." I was like, "Yeah, I just wanted to try something new." She's like, "Oh, okay. Well, here you go, y'all. He changed his order a little bit." She really
that's funny.
She yelled back to the group that was working behind the counter that I changed my order up.
They were worried they got it wrong.
Yeah, they were. That's by far one of the funniest things I've had happen in the morning.
Did it taste good though?
It did taste good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll usually add a little trick I usually do is add cocoa powder to my coffee or oatmeal or something like that, just to give a little flavor.
I have never heard of anyone doing that.
Yeah, it's actually pretty legit, especially if you have a little bit of sweetness in it. It honestly tastes like I'm gonna hate to say this because he's probably still asleep or run. So it somewhat tastes like a hot chocolate.
Ooh, and he loves hot chocolate.
Yeah, he loves it. He'll go to a famous coffee shop, okay, and will order hot chocolate in the summertime, in the morning.
That's hilarious.
In the morning, hot chocolate.
In the morning.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm gonna call this bluff on that one. We got to start. We got to get him some coffee, some caffeine.
Does he not drink coffee?
No, does not.
I found out yesterday, watching Pat McAfee, Bill Belichick made an appearance on there with his 80 Lombardi trophies behind him. And I guess Pat had taken him out to dinner and said, "Hey, you got to try this espresso martini." And Bill was like, "No, I'm not trying that." And he goes, "Come on, man, just try it." He goes, "No, I don't drink coffee." And Pat McAfee was like, all of these years when you just stay up and watch all this film, because he's known for you've never had coffee. He goes, "Nope, not one sip of coffee." It's like whatchamacallit in veggies.
Oh, wow. Never had coffee?
Al Michaels.
Sure. Al Michaels. Oh, and vegetables. Okay. Yeah.
It's
Goodness.
just weird. But whatever, to each is your own.
So what is the food that everyone else loves that you hate?
What's the food that everyone else loves?
For me, it's easy.
Mine is easy, too.
Apple pie.
Apple pie.
Apple pie sucks. It's terrible.
Whipped cream sucks.
What?
Whipped cream?
All right.
I can't do it.
You need to be put on a watch list somewhere. So, fun story about me. When I was a kid, I also had this same wrong opinion, and I did not like whipped cream. And my brother and sister, one day, I wanted a bowl of ice cream with nothing else on it. And they gave me a bowl of ice cream with whipped cream on it. And I was probably 4, maybe. And so I was not happy. Threw a tantrum like, "No, I'm not eating this. I told you I don't like whipped cream." They went back inside the house. We were eating outside. They went back inside the house. They flipped it upside down. They put it in a different bowl. They literally took the exact same ice cream with whipped cream on it, flipped it upside down, gave it to me. And I was like, this is something different about this. I really like this. This is very good.
funny.
And ever since then, I've loved whipped cream.
Loved whipped cream.
I can't do it.
I'm with you too. I'm not a whipped cream person.
Yeah,
no,
I can't.
When they do that frappuccino thing, I'm like, hold the whip.
Hold the foam and whipped cream. Yeah.
What do you not like about it?
It's just like air.
It's sweet air. It's sugar.
I know. I already
It's
have
literally
enough
just
of that.
sugar. If you knew everything that went into it, you would like it.
No, absolutely
It's just
not.
whipped up.
I can't do it because it's foamy. I don't get much sweetness out of it on my end. I'm like, all right, if I'm already having brownies, like I don't need the whipped cream.
The
I don't
extra
taste the
calories
sweetness
for me.
in it. It ain't even the calories. Like I will indulge if I loved it, Kayla, but I can't do the whipped cream topping.
Too much for me.
I just can't.
Psychopath.
Barely marshmallows.
And
Barely.
I hate goat cheese. A lot of people like goat cheese.
like goat cheese.
If I even touch goat cheese, like I will puke. Like if it's on the plate that touches some, I can't handle it.
I know what we're eating next time we go out. I want to see Kayla puke somewhere.
I will get you back 20 times worse.
But whipped cream, at least we agree on that.
we do.
That's
Bert, do you have a
one of the
food
most
you hate?
ridiculous things either of you have ever said?
No, I have this ick where picky people just, if there's something you don't like, grow up. Come on, get over it. My dad used to make me eat everything, and I mean everything. I didn't like the crust on sandwiches, got over that. Didn't like the skin on pickles, got over that. Didn't like onions, got over that. You just get over it. You just grow up and adapt.
Were you shaving pickles?
No, just like, I don't know. As a kid, I didn't like the outside. I liked the inside. I liked the soft, where all the seeds were. I didn't like the green Shrek-looking skin of the pickle. And my dad told me it grows hair on your chest. And I said, I don't want a hairy chest. And he made me eat it anyway. Cheyenne is the same way. All this, I don't want this, or I can't eat that. Just eat it. Just eat it. It's good for you. It tastes good. It's a human experience. Trying things you don't like. Learn to love them. Eat olives.
Right?
I love olives.
I could eat a whole can of those. They're so bad for you. Did you know that?
No.
They're
I
not
also,
good.
I also hate olives, but I
Really?
also subscribe to the How I Met Your Mother olive theory that in a relationship, one of you needs to like olives, the other one needs to hate them. Because
Okay.
when there are olives on a drink or a sandwich that you don't want, you can just give them to the person that you are in a relationship
Boom.
with. And thankfully, my girlfriend loves olives, and I could not hate them more. So, works perfectly.
Stuffed blue cheese olives on a martini.
Now my stomach's turning. 615-737-1045 is our number. We will revisit our conversation with EFL Trey Smith coming up here in 10 minutes. A lot of serious and a lot of funny as well. We hit everything with Trey, so we will hear that coming up in just a few minutes. Coach Tay McGinnis at 7:20 this morning, as always, on Thursday mornings. And our good friend Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports talks Titans, NFL, and draft headlines with us at 9 o'clock as well. 615-737-1045. We'll hear from Trey Smith next.
If you've been here for a while, you know what a big deal this is coming soon. 3 incredible days, April 26, 27, and 28. This is the big one. With unbelievable store-wide savings up to 35% off. They will not hold back at all. From rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, pendants, thousands of engagement ring settings, natural and lab-grown diamonds. Special pricing across the board, too, with zero interest financing. This is when the staff at Genesis know they can break all the rules, all right? Plus, world-class designers have flown in with all new collections of fashion jewelry from New York and California. The stuff you can't find anywhere else, and it will all be on sale. So if you're getting engaged or have a special event coming up, whether it's graduation, Mother's Day, anniversary, birthday, it doesn't matter. Draft, I mean, you can celebrate with the first-round draft pick. You can't miss this incredible buying opportunity. So don't miss the expanded selection and extreme value pricing. People drive for hours just to be a part of this. So mark your calendars. Again, April 26th through the 28th, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Spring at both locations, too. So see store for details.
So many people trust Two Rivers Ford. Football players, working moms, business owners. Why? Because Two Rivers Ford has been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed up by 8th and Rose, Tremone Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, I'm Will Bowling. Some headlines to get to as we kick off the show from last night. The Nashville Predators' first-round matchup in the NHL playoffs is set. We'll get to that coming up in just a few minutes, but this was great. VFL Trey Smith, a two-time Super Bowl champion, joins Ramon, Kayla, and Will for the first time as a two-time Super Bowl champion.
Life got really serious in that moment. You know what I mean? It put it barely back into perspective that, you got to really count your days in a way. You got to make sure you make the most of every day because you don't know what can happen. And for me, I felt like, in that situation, once again, like for the little kid, we were on the bus, we were about to leave, you could just see the panic on his face. Like all I wanted to do was put him back in focus, make sure he's being a little kid again. Because in that moment, life was messing with him. You see everything going on outside. So for me, it was just been calming down the situation and bringing the moment back.
You've also just been in different situations too, just professionally, Trey. We'll have this conversation because you're a current player. Of course, the Titans need offensive linemen and stuff like that. And when it boils down to position changing, Trey, as far as going from tackle to guard, if you could explain, Trey, what was that transition for you, and why was it smart for you to be able to play guard in the NFL? And be honest about how did you feel going to the interior side of it too, because being a tackle is a glorified position. But as far as career goes, there's a lot that has to happen mentally, physically to be able to play at a professional level at that spot.
Yep. So I know in high school, I always thought, man, I would be the next left tackle. I was looking up to guys like Cam Robinson, Laramie Tunsil at the time. And I remember all the football camps I would go to, I would always be a tackle out there. And it took until I went to a Nike opening camp in Oregon with LaCharles Bentley. And I took a couple reps at tackle. And he looked at me and said, "You're a guard." And I was like, what? No one had told me that at the time. So started doing a couple guard reps, went to University of Tennessee, obviously. And then, I was playing tackle for spring with Butch for a little bit. And then Walt Wells, he's just like, what about playing guard? Let me see you do a one-on-one rep down there. I did it, dominated. He's like, I'm not moving your ass anywhere. You're going to be a guard for the rest of the time here. And for me, man, you know, as a high schooler, as a young kid, you're like, tackle is a hell of a lot sexier position. You know, those guys make all the money. You're on an island. It's super skilled. You know, like you said, it's a glorified position on the field. But, man, as soon as I started playing guard my freshman year at Tennessee, I was like, why have I been missing this my whole life? Because it fit me. The physicality, you know, how fast everything happens inside. It's just a fun position, man. You can really be a physical mauler at guard. It's a lot easier to be physical as heck at guard comparatively to tackle, which, you know, patience, the space out there. You're on an island majority of the time. Guard, you're in there, you're able to bang around, no diddy.
About to bag it up.
There's nothing else we need to add, man.
Trey. Okay, all right. I'm gonna bring it back real quick, man. No Diddy. Hey, dog. All right. Okay. All right. We're back. We're back. With that being said, though, what is the NFL left tackle to you? And watching guys that you play with versus the right tackle also. If you can break that down, because you did a really good job.
Together right now.
Yeah, you did a really good job talking about from going from tackle to guard. So what is it, the difference between left tackle and right tackle in your opinion?
Yeah. You know, man, I'll put it like this. So for a lot of people who genuinely don't know ball like that, they always think about the left tackle, the blind side, Michael Orr, you know, how they hype that position up. And let me phrase this properly, because I'm not saying left tackle is an overrated position. I mean, it's one of the hardest. To me, playing tackle in the league, probably defensive back, to me, are the two hardest positions other than quarterback in terms of what you have to do from a physical standpoint. But I feel like left tackle being the blind side of most quarterbacks, like everyone's like, oh, they're the highest paid, they're playing the best defensive ends, et cetera, et cetera. But I think right tackles don't get that due credit too. I mean, you're playing basically the same position. So to me, I think they both take a high level of skill. You've seen the pass rushers go not only from that left tackle to the right tackle now. I mean, just play tackle in general. You have to be a supreme athlete, man. Like, you have to be cued in every single time because you're on that island, dude. You know, you're going against some of the best athletes on the field, but that space, man, it's a different situation. But to me, I think left tackle, right tackle, you know, obviously left tackles get the acclaim, but I think right tackle is just as hard. You know what I'm saying? Because just with the pass rushers, they're so different nowadays.
Trey Smith, a two-time Super Bowl champ for the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us now on RKW. So when it comes to how you've changed as a pro from year one entering the league to now, like, how different is the off seasons for you? And, you know, coming back and saying, hey, we could go for a three-peat here. Like, how realistic is that in your mind? And how does that kind of change what you do in terms of preparation in the off season? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to start by saying we can do a three-peat is absurd. Just being in that position is absurd. You know, I got to give God his credit and glory in that. But, you know, man, just the years adding up, you know, adding different things and utilizing it in my toolbox every day, like, it's different. You know, I feel like the biggest difference for me, Ramon, you can interject too, like, I feel like the biggest thing, even from like year one to year two, is just knowing what to expect. Even in training camp, I mean, obviously OTAs is coming up. I have a different plan with my body, being able to win a Super Bowl, understanding that, hey, you can't wait a month or 3 weeks even to, like, get back to training. Like, yeah, give your body time to rest, but you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. You know what I mean? So for me, it's mixing up cardio, making sure my weight's right, making sure I'm addressing parts of my body that needs fixing instead of just waiting and, you know, just being like Superman. Like, your body's not going to heal unless you go do some work and get it right. So for me, man, I think it's just knowing what to expect. That's just been the biggest fix and easiest indicator of growth.
Man, Trey, your defense was obviously a big part of you know, having success this last year and helping lead you guys to a Super Bowl as well. I know L'Jarius Sneed over here now with the Tennessee Titans. What can you tell us about that ball player? And my God, everything we've heard from everybody is just, this guy is a dude.
Dog. Y'all got a dog. Dog. Telling you, man. Y'all got Sneed, man. Let me tell you something about L'Jarius Sneed. In terms of a teammate, I think first year I never really talked to Sneed, right? very quiet individual, but very vocal on the field. I'm talking about a guy that's going to lay it on the line every single time he steps out there. A highly skilled player, a player that, I mean, once again, dog, but like he's not afraid on that field, man. And I mean, you look at what he did in the playoffs. You look what he did this past season. I mean, that's all Pro Bowl level caliber type player you guys just got. And I wish him nothing but success. That's my brother, man. I'm super proud of him. I'm happy. I'm just happy for him because I saw the effort he put on the field. But in that building every single day, man, he brought it. He absolutely brought it. So you guys are getting a heck of a player, man. I'm just so happy for him and his family.
Two-time Super Bowl champion and Vol for Life, Trey Smith, is our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Trey, I know you were in Knoxville for the orange and white game. What do you like about Josh Heupel's team going into this season? And look, this is the first time that maybe we have had this high of expectations in an offseason in Knoxville in quite some time. What do you like about that group getting to spend time around them?
Yeah, I love what Coach Heupel's done. Just speaking as a former player, being able to be that close to the program, have a relationship with the coaches like that, I think it's really special that guys feel comfortable coming back. That's the first thing. Secondly, man, I really am excited about that quarterback, man. Nico, I'm excited about him. I think he has a tremendous amount of talent. We just got to keep him protected, keep developing him. I think the future is very bright with him at the helm. Now, on top of that, man, I just think just hanging around the O-linemen and stuff, I'm just looking forward to the season, man. I think our D-linemen's going to be great. Omari, shout out Big O, Pierce. I mean, he's an absolute monster too. So I think we have some good pieces, and I think we're just going to bring it together this season. But obviously, time will tell. But really looking forward to this season, man. We got a lot of good pieces, and I like where Tennessee football's headed in the direction they're headed.
We always get to a lot of topics. We talk with VFL Trey Smith. We hit it all with the two-time Super Bowl champion. Man, Trey, congratulations on all your success, man. And just congratulations on the way you've been able to use your platform in such a good way. And I know, making this serious again for a minute, just out of a horrific situation, man. You've been a light for a lot of people, I know, over this offseason. So kudos to you, man. And we got to do this again soon, man. It's always fun.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me on,
Trey,
yeah.
Never, ever, and I mean, don't even think about it, ever grow up. You hear
Never.
me? Ever.
We love you, Trey.
You're a guy that can do both.
Yeah. Please don't ever
no
grow
doubt.
up.
I love it. Good stuff, Trey. Thanks.
Let me throw this in real quick. Whenever I do retire, let me in there so I can have my petty session.
Hey, we will give you the
Give you a
floor.
segment.
You got
I got a
what?
list. I can't reveal too many, but I got a list, man.
Oh,
Are the Titans on there?
you got a revenge list.
Oh, no. I got receipts.
I like it.
Waiting.
Hey, just know our producer, man, wants to recruit you to his team in case you hit free agency too, by the way.
Tell him to call my agent, man. We'll get something fixed.
There he is. Great stuff, man. Thanks so much, Trey.
Yeah, appreciate y'all.
There he is, two-time Super Bowl champion Trey Smith.
What a riot.
What a ride of an interview it was. For real.
Like Will said, you got the serious stuff.
Yeah.
You got the stuff in terms of he just answers every question with so much good knowledge. But then he's so funny, and he doesn't even mean to be. I think it's just him.
You want a pro tip real quick?
Yeah.
Most offensive linemen think they're funny anyway.
Sure.
We get nothing, okay? So all we do is sit in our small circles and joke and tell stories and stuff like that. So most offensive linemen, that's why we had a situation when one guy came on here, O-line, I was just like, why are you so dry? Like, I know
You don't fit.
you're
I
better.
remember that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I was just like, we're better than this. Like, offensive linemen got to have some personality for the most part. Most of that we've had on have had personality,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's because we get no stats other than game starts and game plays.
You gotta create
there
your
we
own
go.
excitement.
You do. You got to create your own excitement.
What stuck out to you about just the tackle to guard transition in that conversation with Trey there, what he said?
How it was spotted early. And how he spoke about how he enjoyed how you start to fight at guard versus the tackle. And some look at going from tackle to guard as a downgrade. It's like, man, they're taking my athleticism away. The thing is, you're more athletic as a guard than you will be as a tackle. And I think it was smart on Trey to realize that in a sense too, and just embracing it. Like, some guys have run away from it. It's either been that, Will and Kayla and listeners, or guys who play defense that have hips that are tighter than a vice grip that need to be playing offensive line. You know what I'm saying? And I can name you 3 dudes that I played with at Tennessee. Had they moved over to the offensive line and accepted that role, they probably played in the NFL for a few years. And Trey embracing that role, I thought was super unique. But again, when you have guys that's played the game, he said Charles Bentley is the one that spotted with him first. Most times you can see it like, yeah, that dude's a guard more than he is a tackle. Like, you can play tackle, and you're going to help us win college games, but in the NFL, you're going to be a guard. So that was what stood out the most.
I like it. Sounds good. 615-737-1045 is our number, and streaming live on 1045 The Zone TV. I think it is really cool when a guy like that is comfortable enough within who he is as a player and just as a person, and continues growing as his play on the field does, just with his own brand. That is a guy who has found the middle ground between not making everything about yourself, not being the me before the team, but also understanding that your own brand is a business as a professional athlete.
Yeah. And he said at the end of the interview, like, I've got receipts. Like, he still plays with a chip on his shoulder. And that's what I love too about him, because he did drop. And, a lot of people thought, you should take him a little earlier, but it comes back to that heart thing, right?
The blood clots,
yeah. The blood clots. And so he kept that in the back of his mind, and he still keeps that in the back of his mind, and it continues to fuel him. And now he's got a chance to three-peat as a Kansas City Chief.
It's crazy. Everybody's got something. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always the smallest thing. I'm sure y'all have had conversations with athletes before, even yourselves, like, what makes you tick?
Oh, yeah.
And it'd be the craziest, smallest thing that gets you going.
Sure.
615-737-1045. Coming up, a resolution to a story we discussed yesterday in the world of basketball. Maybe we'll talk a little bit of hoops. Coming up next, I was told the Eastern Conference playoffs were starting just about 30 minutes before they started yesterday. We can talk about that next. Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed by 8th and Rose. Head coach of Titans Radio, Coach Mack, is coming up in a half hour. 615-737-1045 with the crew all here. And the NBA set a precedent yesterday. They have banned Jontay Porter from the league after an investigation revealed he had disclosed confidential information to bettors, limited his participation in at least one game while he was a member of the Toronto Raptors, and bet on NBA games while playing in the G League. So the NBA's investigation, we talked about this yesterday and some of the reporting that had been around this. Now the NBA's investigation wraps up yesterday, and they found that Jontay Porter, former Missouri big man, revealed information about his own health to a known sports bettor ahead of a March 20th game against the Sacramento Kings, and another bettor privy to the information placed an $80,000 same-game parlay that featured unders on Jontay Porter's statistics and won him $1.1 million. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed, to be quite honest with you.
I'm with you on that one. How far? I'd have probably gone that far. I wouldn't have gone 80,000. I'd have probably put $5,000 on it to flip it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't be that obvious. And again, $80,000 on the same game parlay for Jontay Porter. How silly can his friend group be, man? That was one of my biggest questions. Well, did they actually pay out money that was bet on Jontay Porter? And I was having a conversation yesterday and just thinking about this too. This is also another, another revealing thing also. One, Jontay Porter wasn't flying close to the sun. He was on the sun. Ain't even no ifs, ands, or buts about this. But it's also a situation too where the NBA showed him how unimportant he actually was too. Like, dog, I feel like had he been a guy, had he been a dude, not a two-way contract type of fella, I feel like we're going to work through this. Money wasn't paid out. Hey, we're fine. We're going to learn from this. No, a president have to be set by a guy who's low on the totem pole that said, look at him, everybody. We can't allow this. Don't be Jontay. Now you're going to call yourself getting Jontay'd out here if you betting on games. Like $80,000 to $1.1 million. Like, that's retirement money. And I'm somewhat high at DraftKings for not paying it out. Like, you got to somewhat, like, I'm arguing that one.
Yeah, I'm arguing. It's like he knew he couldn't make it eventually in the league, like at least have a career. So he's like, you know what? I'm just going to bet on myself. Try to win some money. Obviously, it backfired. Yeah. But I've had a lot of people kind of talk about this, after tweeting it out and saying, well, he's got a lifetime ban now from the NBA, but there's other players who are charged with abuse and charged with sexual assault and all of this stuff, and they get a few games. And it is interesting when you think about betting. And really, if you go back all the way to the old days in terms of just the things that they've put in terms of banishment on betting. And now it's allowed almost everywhere. I mean, it's in stadiums, it's in these arenas, and we're still seeing that this type of thing can land you in really hot water and in some cases get you a lifetime ban.
The real issue was that he bet on his team to lose.
Yes. Sure.
That's what. That's why the athletes are looked at. Because if you mess up the integrity of the league that is now in bed with these gambling companies, if there's no integrity, then how do you know these are really, the results are real? The results aren't fabricated by the athletes, by the owners, by whoever. So it makes sense that they were like, all right, you can't, you're not, take your ball and go home.
100%. It was an easy decision. And the league investigation revealed he placed at least 13 bets on NBA games using an associate's online betting account. The bets range from $15 to $22,000, totaling $54,000 according to the league. And the total payout of those bets were $76,059, net winnings of $21,000. None of the bets involved any in which Porter played. 3 of the bets were parlays, including one that included a bet on the Raptors to lose. All 3 bets lost, according to the NBA.
That's a whole lot of betting for nothing. Like, you tell me I got to bet 50,000 to win 20. Like, you don't deserve to be betting. Like, you silly for those moments right there.
It is. I think it's an easy suspension because it is so black and white. Like, he did it. Mm-hmm. There is no nuance to say like, well, maybe there's an argument to be made that you didn't know this and maybe you didn't actually do that. Like he did it. And there's no conversation really to be had. Like to me, it's a no-brainer.
We know it was coming yesterday when we had this discussion.
And for dudes like him, they probably don't need to be betting in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got to try to make those type of plays, and that's what betting is hey, take risk. Hey, parlays go a long way if you can actually hit one. You know what I'm saying? I think it was a dude over this weekend that cashed out like $350,000. He did an early cash out on it. If he'd have stayed, he'd have lost it because it was Dodgers and Padres. It was up 3-0 or something like that. And he cashed out when the Dodgers went up 3-0. Dodgers ended up losing 6-3. And he cashed out like $354,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's certain situations that hit like that. But he's lost more just on, one, his integrity of it, the exposure he's gotten from this. And I forget, was it Bert or you, Kayla, said it yesterday, like, can you imagine what Thanksgiving dinner's going to be like at the Porterhouse?
I think it was Bert, yeah.
Like, when he shows up, like, hey, bro, how's it going? Got a job yet? Like, those are the questions you have to ask him at family dinners now.
Should we bet on it if you get a job?
Yeah, like legitimately,
That's it.
He got a lot of nothing going on right now.
I like that though. He got we can now use. He got Jonte'd. I like it. Just it sounds right.
It does. Yeah, don't get Jonte'd out. But again, I'll say this, and I said this before. Gambling culture is a big part of professional sports. Every single sport and locker room.
We heard they do it on the plane sometimes, on the ride home with M&Ms.
It's been the M&Ms. Yeah, you bet on which airplane, which M&M's going to reach the back of the plane first. There's a lot that goes into it. You add the legal side of it, state to state, guys are going to dabble. I just suggest all of them, be smart. Please be smart.
You think he can play overseas at all?
I'll give him
possibly.
You think if some Russian is like, you think they're going to treat him like Ed Monix from Semi-Pro? He gets traded for fax machines.
Yes,
for sure.
What's crazy is he's still going to have a lot of bookies in his inbox. He's got a lot of knowledge and probably got a lot of ties. I don't think this is the last of Jonte Porter as it pertains to him betting and doing stuff with DraftKings and whoever else.
He started his own book. He will place your bets at the Porterhouse.
There we go.
At the Porterhouse.
615-737-1045. The Nashville Predators first round playoff matchup is set. We'll give you the details of that and why you should like the matchup if you are a Predators fan going into the playoffs starting next week. And an ESPN.com writer has proposed a Titans trade out of the number 7 overall pick that, in my opinion, is the worst trade that I have seen in the entire lead up to the draft. Out of all of the trades, this is the one I want the least, and I'll give you the details of it next.
What's going on? 7 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Former Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins planning to sign with the Chargers on a one-year deal. Electric when healthy, but that wasn't very often. Dobbins, who averaged 4.8 yards a carry in his career, reunites with offensive coordinator Greg Roman and can hit the market again next March. Teams are wrapping up their top 30 visits this week with some Vols getting some play as wide receiver Ramel Keaton is in Miami talking with the Dolphins. Keaton caught 35 balls for 642 yards and 6 touchdowns last year in Knoxville. 2 more play-in games down. Bulls take out the Hawks 131-116. Bulls guard Alex Caruso has a significant left ankle sprain in his availability versus Miami on Friday. With the 8 seed is on the line. Andre Drummond stepped on his foot versus the Hawks in the play-in victory last night. The 76ers eke it out against the Heat 105-104. Miami Heat star Jimmy Butler feared to have an MCL injury in his knee. The injury could sideline Butler for an indefinite amount of time. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2 starts right now on a Thursday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW, as always, is brewed up by 8th and Roast. 615-737-1045 is how you join Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, the best producer in the world, and myself, Will Bowling.
It's kind of like when you're talking to your girlfriend and you actually call her your ex-girlfriend's name. Oh, sorry, baby, I didn't. I wasn't thinking about her.
It's not on purpose.
The best producer in the world.
Man, I didn't know that was the case for you, Bert. Sorry to hear that, man.
Nah, I don't throw myself under the bus like that.
Okay, all right.
I'm a pretty smooth operator. As soon as I get in a new relationship, it's all gone. Kind of like SpongeBob when he was learning about fine dining. Everything but his name, gone. I don't remember those other women. They meant nothing to me.
That's fair.
By the way, how'd the massage, was that approved yesterday by Cheyenne?
She came home relaxed like a wet noodle. Couldn't do anything for the rest of the day. Laying around, lounging. She also got a spray tan yesterday, so she was looking very dark. What she said, am I stinky? Am I stinky? I did not smell the stink from the spray tan.
I'll have to see where she's going.
I could not tell. We went out to eat to a place that I assumed was very fancy. It had steakhouse in the name. We got there, and then people were wearing tank tops.
Nice.
Was this Outback?
No.
Oh, my gosh.
Not Outback. In my neck of the woods in Hermitage, there's a very nice restaurant we went to, and I thought it was upper scale, so we dressed accordingly. Upon arriving, it was not upper scale. There were people in Dale Jr.
Yes.
Just people trying to have nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Cheyenne's just wearing a dress. I don't think anybody had wore a dress in there since the 1900s.
Oh my God! Did you spot jorts?
Well, we just look so out of place because, like in Nashville, we're all pale. Naturally, we're all pale this time of year.
Speak for yourself.
And Cheyenne walks in looking like tall, dark, and handsome. And everybody's like, where the hell did this girl come from? Why does she look so tan?
She's supermodel walking in.
Right. She can't help it. She can't. And he's like, why is she with that beanbag chair?
I love it.
All in all, everything went very good. Very nice for her.
I'm glad to hear that.
I just love
That's a
too the very southern, and I say this all the time too. Of just we went out to eat. Oh, we're going out to eat.
Going out to
eat. We're gonna have a big time and go out to eat.
Yeah. I didn't realize those things, and I say that often. What we're going to eat, or we're going out to eat.
Out to eat that's the one.
That's my grandparents' lingo.
That's what I say.
Love that. I've overdressed for occasions like that often, man. It always happens.
It's never a bad thing. I think if anything, you're setting a trend.
It's just extra eyes on you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he must be new in town.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Preds and Canucks going to be the matchup in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs from February the 17th. At the start of the Predators' 18-game point streak to April 15th, the Preds had the second most wins with 20 and second most points in the NHL with 43. During that same time, the Vancouver Canucks only had 12 wins, the 22nd most in the National Hockey League with 27 points. That is 16 less points than what the Predators had during their 18-game point streak from February 17th to April 15th. The Preds, the hotter of the two hockey teams going into the first round.
Yeah, no, they are. And you do look back at, the Vancouver Canucks dominated them at the beginning of the season, but that was all before December. They won those 3 games against the Preds. This is a solid Canucks team, though. I mean, they've got a Norris Trophy candidate, as do the Nashville Predators in Roman Josi, who I think, honestly, is played incredible second half hockey. Former winner, obviously, in Roman Josi. But here's the thing. I think overall with this Vancouver team and this Predators team, the two haven't met in a while in the playoffs. And Vancouver has not even hosted a playoff game since like 2015. Preds missed it last year, okay? And we can say whatever happened because of that. It was kind of a rebuilding process. But to be back in this position that quickly and to be playing really good hockey, and maybe they haven't played the best opponents at the very end of the season, I still feel like this Nashville Predators team knows who they are. They know their identity at this point. And I think it's going to be a series that goes down to the very last game, if you want to know my honest opinion. And I think that Nashville Predators fans embrace this opportunity when they do come back home after those first 2 games on the road. Like, make this place wild again. Right? I mean, you missed the playoffs last year. Make sure that the home ice advantage when it is here, make it that, and make it this city again that embraces hockey, because when it's like that, it's like nothing other. Like, it's a hard place to play.
Thatcher Demko, the netminder for Vancouver, right up there in the Vezina conversation again this season. 5th in goals against average, 3rd in save percentage, and 5th in shutouts among qualified goaltenders in the NHL this year. But he was out for quite some time with a lower body injury that sidelined him from March 7th until Tuesday. So interesting to see the way Thatcher Demko, the netminder for Vancouver, is able to come back and be himself again after about a month injured. But should be good.
Yeah.
Need a little revenge from the first ever playoff series the Preds won, when the Preds beat the Red Wings in 2011 and then promptly exited against the Canucks right after that. I remember that very well.
So is this situation, I'm reading up on
beat the Ducks, for their first ever series win.
This situation where it's the Canucks' first time getting in, or are they usually higher seeded? Because it says the first time they faced each other in the playoffs in over like 13 years.
Yeah, 13 years since then. It's just it's a matchup that, I mean, the NHL has changed the way that teams match up against each other so much. But I don't know, just they were great with the Sedin twins, went through a little bit of a rebuild, and now they are excellent.
Yeah, they went through some struggles for sure. Whereas the Preds, they really haven't dipped to the point where some of these other teams have dipped to. Like, they missed, like I said, the playoffs last year. But for the most part, they've been consistently making the postseason. Now, how good have they been? They've been eliminated a lot in the first round. So now here's a chance. Okay, let's see if you can get past this Canucks team. And then you almost overachieved this year, in my opinion.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If you're the Preds.
It's a good thing.
ESPN.com's Bill Barnwell writes, hypothetical trades for all 32 first-round picks. In this scenario, you have trades via the Jimmy Johnson trade chart, things that make sense for both teams. We're going to get to the Titans one. The one for the Bears at number 1 overall is like, a lot of these are just absolutely not going to happen, obviously, but they're just outlandish options for every pick. The one for number 1 overall is the Jags trading up to number 1. The Bears getting Trevor Lawrence and 2 picks, which would be fun. But the pick for the Tennessee Titans is not a trade back. In fact, it is a trade up. In this scenario, Bill Barnwell writes that the Titans would be trading up to the 4th overall pick to get in front of the Los Angeles Chargers and give themselves a better chance at drafting Joe Alt. Trading picks 7, 38, and Traylon Burks to the Arizona Cardinals for the 4th overall pick and the 90th overall pick. A 3rd rounder that you would get back. Absolutely no way. I do not see any scenario of this happening.
I somewhat want to entertain it. I do. I'll be real with you. Just because, again, what do? You don't want to overreach. I think Joe Alt is a top 5 guy of these teams in front of the Titans and need quarterbacks. He is that good of a player, but that's a lot to give up when you're talking about continually building a team. Now, if you told me, I'd accept, honestly, if they moved up to number 4, you say, to go get a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., I'll accept that better than the offensive lineman, because I still look at saying, all right, you're still able. You got guys on this roster. It was reported yesterday. Well, it was an article yesterday on the TennesseeTitans.com that they got 5 guys in the house right now that are actually tackles that they can train up and learn under Coach Bill Callahan. If you're telling me you going in for a generational guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., bringing him to Nashville, I'll entertain the idea of losing 7 and 38 to get a Marvin Harrison Jr. I would. For Joe Alt, probably not so much at that spot, because I think this is a buildup over time of where you are as far as competing. I can say we're going to compete for the AFC South and try to move up as much as we possibly can, well, the understanding that we're still building. I think if we took a poll right now, is this team complete going into 24 as far as like being a top-tier team? Most people will say no, we're still building. So I look at it as, hey, we're doing this over time to where you set yourselves up the way Houston has. They've been accumulating talent for years, and we laughed at them for years until they found the right quarterback.
I don't like it, because, I mean, if Alt doesn't come to you at that point, then he doesn't come to you at that point. And guess what? This is a heavy offensive tackle draft. So if you really, really want your guy, you can still get somebody. You can even trade down and still get somebody. In this situation, I think you're giving up 38?
38.
38, Traylon Burks, and 7.
Yeah, I don't like that, just to go up and try to get Joe Alt, because he might not be there, because he does maybe go to the Chargers. But here's the thing. You could also go with the playmaker, and I don't think that's the end of the world. I don't think people are going to be mad if they get a Malik Neighbors if he's there, or a Rome Odunze. There's still going to be plenty of guys there that, look, you're still bettering your team.
Yeah.
Interesting in this scenario, too, the trade for the Chargers at 5. I think this is an awesome exercise. And I think Bill Barnwell likely knows that many of these are completely unrealistic. But one that I actually don't mind for the Chargers is them trading 5 and 181 to the 49ers for Brandon Ayuk, pick number 31 and pick number 94. That's a way to give the Chargers something they need and the 49ers something they need, and some kind of young and elite weapon to A, replace Brandon Ayuk, and B, give Brock Purdy another just stud to throw the football to.
Exactly.
It's interesting. But we can get more into that, and certainly want to get more into golongtd.com and what longtime writer Bob McGinn is hearing. They do a different position leading up to the draft. This is part 2 today. They did wide receivers yesterday. They have talked about tackles today. And there are a lot of interesting things on golongtd.com this morning about Joe Alt specifically. So we'll get back to that coming up. We'll do that in about an hour at 8:20 this morning. So you want to stick around for that. But coming up next, Titans Radio's head coach, Coach Dave McGinnis, joins the show next.
It's Ramon Foster for United Structural Systems. And when it comes to large home repairs, a lot of time we homeowners, we pretend we don't see the warning signs. We're afraid of what we're going to hear. This is especially true with waterproofing and foundation repair. It could be something big that needs to be fixed right away, or maybe a small problem now that'll become bigger later, or maybe nothing at all. Bottom line is we don't know. We certainly don't want to be sold something we don't need. What we need is a peace of mind. And United Structural Systems is the company to give you that. They have over 25,000 100% satisfied residential customers. And one of those customers is Brad from Nashville. Posted on 4/9/24. It was this year, okay, in one of the online reviews. He said, we had 2 sidewalks that collapsed on our campus and created a trip hazard and an ADA issue. I placed a call to USS to get a quote on their concrete polylifting service. The process is quick, and the communication was excellent from the first call until the completion. Evan came out and completed the work, and the sidewalk is now in compliance, and the trip hazard has been eliminated. If you want to be like Brad, man, reach out to United Structural financial system at USSTN.com. They're serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky. You can, again, reach them online at USSTN.com or call them on the telephone, 615-488-7855.
When you hear that music, you know it is time to hear from Titans Radio's head coach. Coach Dave McGinnis is brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, Two Rivers Ford. With Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. Coach Mack on the phone lines this morning. What's going on, Coach?
Will, Kayla, Ramon, good morning. Hope you guys are doing good. I'm doing great.
Good to hear from you, Coach.
Well, we're doing great, too, now that you have graced us with your presence. How was the process of building the draft board over the last week?
It's done. I mean, it's done. We've had, Red's taken it. Red has taken that part of it, the vertical and horizontal board to print, and then now, there's going to be things that pop up that really we don't have any access to. Clubs now putting the final touches on some things and some things are coming to light. The clubs have known all along that, those of us that work outside of the clubs now, after having worked on the inside of it, for over 3 decades, I know there are things that clubs know that the people on the outside don't know. Some of those things are starting to come to light now. Some of those things will start coming more to light as we get closer to next week. But as far as for what Rhett and I have done, I mean, we feel pretty good about it because, we're not making any picks, but we just want to have that board set so that as we're doing the draft and Mike says, who's the best available, in your opinion, coming up next, at least we can have something viable to talk about with everybody on the panel, including Ramon.
And it's interesting, Coach Mack. We were talking to Red about this yesterday, about how this is kind of a relaxed week for executives. Once those top 30 visits end and the boards have been made, what are those final days like for general managers and coaches?
Well, it just depends on what your duties are. I mean, back in the day, and of course they still do this. One of the biggest things is again going back through and rechecking all of where all of these players are going to be. Be sure that you got their agents' numbers correct. Be sure you've got their numbers correct, where you can reach the agents and also where you can reach the players on draft day. Do I have legitimate numbers? Are these where are you going to be? At this time, all of that stuff is important because once you get on the clock, you really don't have a whole lot of time, to try to find somebody. And so that getting that information right now, whoever is in charge of it, scouting stats have gotten so big now that I'm sure they've got several people, dividing all of those names up, as far as be sure we've got all of this stuff in order. Then what you're doing now, then you'll get your final medical reports. And the final medical reports, where the general manager and the head coach will meet with the medical people and the doctors. The doctors come into this now. I mean, the orthopedic people, the internal people, all of that comes in for those types of meetings where, sooner or later you find out things, or there are things that you want to know medically about these players, down to the finest detail coming up to this end. Those meetings are going to take place too. And then what you want to do, there's about a 48-hour period where you really want everybody just to kind of chill off. Because what's happened this is a very intense process. Even what we're doing now, outside of clubs, it's time sensitive. And it is really work sensitive too, because you're grinding all the time, putting this stuff together. And so you need some time, probably about 48 hours is what I normally experienced during my coaching career in this league, as to where you just kind of chill and you get away from it so that you'll be refreshed once the draft started. So this is a wind down time as far as as once your board gets set. But at the same time, and we're talking about the main board set, you've also got you got 3 boards in that room. You've got the backboard, you've got the free agent board, you've got your roster board that's set up where you look at and the number of people that you want to take per position to training camp. All of these things you start to zero in and narrow in on it. But there is a time, about 48 hours before the draft night hits, that you want to take some time to just kind of breathe a little bit, and so that you've got a clear head going into this.
Coach Mack, who at the wide receiver position has helped themselves, in your opinion, through the NFL draft process?
Well, I don't think anybody's really hurt themselves. I mean, to begin with. I mean, when you're talking about, of course, this is a pretty unique receiver group because it's a very talented receiver group. You've got the guy at the top of the list that's really done nothing workout wise, and probably for a good reason. He really didn't have anything to gain by it. I think the other ones that did work out, and Neighbors of Dunze and those guys, showed exactly what they could do. I think some of the guys that have shown up are in that second and third round that have helped themselves. Roman Wilson from Michigan, I think, has continued to build on what he did at the Senior Bowl. Coming out of Michigan where they didn't throw it a lot, but you could see that this guy at 5'10", 685 pounds with a 4.39 has got some things that people would like on their football team, probably around that second or third round. I think Ricky Pearsall from Florida, even though they didn't have a good football team, when you start looking at what his production was on a team that really didn't have a lot of big time producers, you could see why he stood out. Of course, you look at Xavier Worthy and running as fast as he did and all of those things that happened. Somebody is going to say, we want that speed element. We want it. We need it. I don't care that it weighs 165 pounds. We're going to need that. Then you start getting, further down, just at Western Kentucky, there, I think Malachi Corley has held pretty solid, throughout this draft as far as to where his draft, stock has been, probably somewhere around that third round look. So I don't think anybody's really has hurt themselves. I think when you talk wide receiver group, it is a very talented group. So I think there are going to be some guys as you go down through it. I think Jamari Thrash from Louisville, has kind of stayed steady with what has gone on. And I'm not talking about the elite guys as far as top of the rounds. I'm talking about guys now that are going to be probably pretty good guys to bring into your football team that will help in some form or fashion.
Coach, when it comes to A.D. Mitchell out of Texas, some have called him maybe the biggest wild card out of this group of wide receivers. What would you describe him as a prospect here, and where could you see him fitting in?
Well, I mean, talent-wise, I think he's the bottom of the first or top of the second talent, because you're talking about a guy that a 6'0", 205 pounds, 4.34. The guy's very, very talented. Very, very explosive. You saw the report that just came out. You talk about a medical report that just came out, with some of the things that's reported something that you're going to have to manage if you're going to bring him in. That's very important. But you talk about the football part of it. he's a very, very explosive guy that you could add that element to your football team and be very, very happy with. I think he's a fringe bottom of the first, top of the second round talent.
When you look at maybe the past and how the draft has gone, and just in terms of wide receivers specifically making an instant impact in the league, have you seen a trend in terms of it changing? Maybe more so you're getting more guys in the first round, or you're just getting more impact guys in that first year, in that rookie year. Have you seen that at all, Coach?
I think it's a result of what's going on in high school football all the way up through from 7-on-7 camps, the way people are spinning it now in high school, and all these advanced elite, quarterback camps. And then you go to the collegiate game. The collegiate game is spread out now. It's spread out. It's become a horizontal game. It really has. And of course, it's different, clearly in collegiate football because of where the hash marks are, but you just got more people playing that position because offenses are more wide open now. So the answer, I think, Kayla, to that is the numbers. Once you start throwing more numbers of athletes at a position, sooner or later, you're going to see, once you get up to this element, which is what the top 1% of players that have started out playing high school make it to this level. The top 1%, they make it to this level. So you talk about numbers, you've got more numbers to draw from, and plus offenses have lent themselves more to the passing game now. From the high school game on up, you can see that if you go to any high school games. You go to You watch what goes on in these summer camps, that you go to look at young players coming through, and then you look at the collegiate game. So the answer, I think, to that is yes, but I think it happens even before they get to this developmental stage.
Coach Mack joining us this morning. Coach Mack, there's numbers on the rounds because they matter, right? First round, super heavy. 7 rounds, still important. But when it comes down to also being in the first round and picking in the top 10, Mack, when you're in those rooms and having those conversations, what is the expectations for those picks, for the plan for those guys? Do you say to yourself, all right, we'll plan for the future for them? Or is the weight of the first rounder, like, we need them now? And how much has that changed from, 15 years ago to today's game?
Well, 15 years ago is much different because first round, before there was a salary cap and before these contracts were slotted, that money for a first rounder, especially in the top 10, if you didn't get the right guy, that could wreck you. That could completely wreck you. Like when Sam Bradford was the last $70 million guy taken, before the salary cap came in, before he'd ever taken a snap. And so you know what that was doing to locker rooms and also what it was doing to just the financial look, of all the teams. So it was different 15 years ago because that financial hit, especially in the top 10, and I'm fortunate I didn't draft in the top 10 a lot because if you're drafted in the top 10, you're not good. All right. But that part of it, that you have not had a successful season. That part of it, though, has been mitigated a little bit, Ramon, a little bit, just because of now the way that salaries are slotted. In other words, salaries are slotted, and you're not completely held captive to the big number that you don't even know what it's going to be or when a guy's going to get into camp. All of that stuff, that was a real worry, 15 years plus ago. It's not now, but you go to the part of it as to when you got a chance to draft in the top 10, when you have that opportunity, because you haven't had as good a record, you have that opportunity. Then those guys need to hit. Those guys need to hit because you've got a chance. You're drafting from a pool of the elite players as to how you have them parsed out in your room as the better players. So that's what you're trying to get. And so that part of it has never, ever, ever changed. And so it depending on where your football team is, one or two of those guys can make a big difference. And especially, if you get those guys that you've got a 5th-year option on that perform to that point where you can exercise that 5th-year option. And then all of a sudden the windows have closed quite a bit, Ramon, now as far as to how long coaches get and how long staffs get to be able to show success and be able to continue their tenure at a place. It used to have a 5 or 6 year window. That's narrowed down to like 3 or 4 now.
Coach Mack,
your bigger hits need to hit
in that top 10. I'm with you. As it pertains to this last week of button up things, I've always heard that, draft boards or draft simulations amongst the staff and, guys that they talk trades and stuff like that. Just how realistic are those conversations? Because I've always heard, of course, a pick like Aaron Donald. You like him, you love him, and some have strong question marks about individuals like him, and y'all were right on him, Coach Mack. How do those conversations and how heated does it get whenever you're doing those simulations and actually get to the real draft night?
Well, it's not heated, but what you want to be informed, and then you want everybody's opinion. And what you'll do, most of the time, what you'll do is you'll divide teams up. You'll divide teams up and say, Ramon, you've got Kansas City. What are their needs? What do they want? What does their roster look like? Where do you think that they're looking to pick? Will look, you've got the Bengals. Where are they now? How many people do they have? What do you think they'd be able to do? Kayla, you've got the Cardinals. They've got multiple picks. Or do you think they'd be willing to trade? And then you start working through those different scenarios. But then you always work it around where you are picking, and you go through multiple sets of occurrences that could happen. Because here's where that good thought process comes in. You get a chance to work your vertical and horizontal board and start putting up mock bullpens as to 2 places out from your draft. If we've got a choice between these 4 people at these different positions, who do we like? If we've got a chance, between these 5 people at this position, who do we like and why? And you go through all of those things because when it happens on the clock, it happens quick. So you need some type of exercise going into it as to where you got some feel of ease that you've already been through some of these scenarios, and some scenarios pop up that you had no idea was going to pop up because you just don't know until the clock starts. But it's a good mental process for everybody involved in the room to see where the board is fitting vertically and horizontally in everybody's mind.
Coach Trey McGinnis is brought to you by Two Rivers Ford. Every time you hear him on 104.5 The Zone, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, Two Rivers Ford. Coach Mack, I got my tickets to the Titans draft party while we were sitting here. So I'll see you next Thursday, and people need to go to TennesseeTitans.com, and they can see us all there too.
That will be absolutely perfect, guys. Can't wait. Always enjoy talking ball with you very early in the morning.
Yeah. Love it.
Thanks, Coach.
Great stuff, Coach Mack. Thank you. There he is, Coach Trey McGinnis, with us here this morning on the show. I think that's good insight into the process of the draft, which just completely fascinates me.
Mm-hmm. That'd probably be a good exercise we can do one year. Take a team, what we need,
sure.
Whether we're going top 5 and stuff like that. I think that'd be super unique to say, okay, who you guys want, what you willing to give up for this pick if somebody wants to move up.
I mean, between the 4 of us, we could all do a mock draft as a different team of the AFC South and just do it live on air.
There we go.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Not a bad idea.
It's not a bad
kind of fun.
Yeah.
Put ourselves in a GM position,
I know, because again, and I brought up Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald came out of college 6'1".
Yeah.
We're talking about a top 15 pick that you got to stand on the table for. And I like I said, I know it's not heated, but at some point, who do you start to believe in and say to yourself, this is our guy?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Coming up, I've got Travis Kelce fatigue. That's not a secret.
Uh-oh.
There is a new way to consume Travis Kelce, and I'm already tired of it. Coming up. Wrapping up the first half of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Rose. 615-737-1045 is how you join us. In 15 minutes, the tell-all piece from 3 writers at ESPN.com yesterday tells some interesting truths about Bill Belichick and the Carolina Panthers. I don't know if you guys sifted through that yesterday. Some very interesting nuggets and quite a stray bullet to Carolina Panthers fans, which we can get into coming up at 8 o'clock. But, guys, we have another way to watch Travis Kelce because we haven't had enough recently. He will be hosting the game show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, that is now being spun off to Are You Smarter Than a Celebrity on Amazon Prime. Are you in or out on Travis Kelce hosting Are You Smarter Than a Celebrity?
So, first of all, what do we now say in terms of celebrity? Because I feel like celebrity is now attached to former bachelorettes or bachelor people, right? Yeah. Like, those are not celebrities. I'm sorry. And I know many of you live right here in Nashville, but you are not a celebrity in my eyes.
Tell them, Kayla.
A celebrity is somebody who is just born with a talent, whether that be acting or singing or dancing, and not necessarily somebody who just goes on a reality show, is the maybe one that they all hated or the one that, won the runner-up.
You made an appearance.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, like, what is a celebrity? So first of all, I want to ask that. Who will be the celebrities? Because if it's like these grade Ds, I don't care. All right? Yeah. And then B, I do think Travis Kelce has kind of been out there a lot, and I really just like sticking to what he does with football. Like, I'm a Travis Kelce, not fan, but I appreciate him because he's good at football. And so I'd rather just see what he does on the field, but I don't really give a damn what you do off the field. And I don't really care to watch it either.
He's getting that, retirement kit 101 right there, prepping himself for life after football. I'll say this. I'll watch him if I have an opportunity in his own because he's charismatic. He's entertaining as heck, and he get people to laugh. If you're talking about a game show host with a dude that has that inviting personality, I'll watch it. But I'm with you. The contestants matter more than anything. And there are some very popular people out there that don't have those talents, but they are very, very, very popular.
Insta
popular. I mean, streaming popular. There's a lot of that going on. But I'll watch it if Kelsey's doing it. Him and his brother, definitely. Who lost his Super Bowl ring?
I saw that
in a pit of chili. They said
in a pit of chili. That's what it was.
In a swimming pool of chili.
Sounds like a pit of misery.
It is. Well, it was even worse.
Dilly.
Skyline chili out of Cincinnati.
Ew.
All right, so now let's play Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader Ramon, Kayla, and Will edition. I found a quiz of fifth grade questions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
Which is the fastest bird on foot? An ostrich, a sparrow, an eagle, a dragon, or a woodpecker? Fastest bird on foot. Ostrich, sparrow, eagle, dragon, woodpecker.
Ostrich.
You're both correct.
Yeah!
An ostrich can travel 60 miles per hour. Which planet is closest to the sun? Venus, Earth, Mercury, Saturn, or Jupiter? That is Venus, Earth, Mercury, Saturn, or Jupiter.
Venus?
Mercury.
That's correct. Again? Mercury.
There we go.
Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto is the correct order of the planets.
I used to crush these games in elementary school.
Well, fifth grader.
How many sides does a heptagon have?
Oh, no.
6. No. Heptagon.
Did that help you sounding it out like that?
It did, because I'm prefacing the words.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Like octo.
The sentence is, how many sides does a heptagon
6.
have?
No,
You're both incorrect. 7.
Ah, damn.
A heptathlon is 7 events. So, tough. This one might tell on us a little bit.
Oh, no.
How long is one regular term for a member of the U.S. House of Representatives?
2 years.
Good job. 2 years is correct.
Look at you, class president.
Which of the following states is not on the Gulf of Mexico? Georgia, Texas, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana.
Georgia.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah,
Georgia. Let's see. This is a good one. What is the largest South American country by area? Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Mexico, or Peru? I don't know why they put Mexico in this. Mexico, I would say, is in North America.
Argentina?
So let's just say Argentina, Brazil, Chile, or Peru. What is the largest
Peru.
South American country?
Brazil, definitely.
Brazil is the correct answer.
There you go.
Ramon Foster
He's
is
killing it.
is at least
Killing
a
it.
sixth grader.
Yeah, I was about to say, we got to go to middle school for him.
I told you I was good at this in school, though. Straight up.
All right. Which of the following states is not part of the Four Corners? This is tricky. New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona. Again, which of the following states is not part of the Four Corners? New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona.
Colorado.
New Mexico?
You're both wrong. Nevada. Nevada is not part of the Four Corners. A
I knew
region
Arizona was.
where the borders of four states meet: Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Utah.
I've been to the part where Arizona meets.
Oh,
one of the
you've seen them
corners.
all?
Because I
Yeah.
lived in Arizona, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Got me.
I'm skipping some of these because they're just not good. Like I don't want to do grammar questions of adverbs versus nouns and pronouns and things of that nature. I just don't care. In the Northern Hemisphere, what month is the autumnal equinox?
What month?
What month is the autumnal equinox in the
October.
Northern Hemisphere?
October.
June.
September. September is I would not have gotten that one
That's
correct.
weird.
I'm not going to
Now I'm upset.
weather idiot.
Where'd you get that?
One more.
All right, one more for the road.
Inca civilizations were concentrated on what continent? I remember this one very well.
South America.
That's correct. Ramon Foster. Ladies and gentlemen.
Very nice.
Francisco Pizarro, I believe, was the one that interacted with the Incans,
With
if
the
I do
Incas,
remember.
that's
So
where I
I did a
remember
book
from.
report on him in third grade. So
South America. Yeah. Take that.
anyway, there you go.
See, might not
Gator
know
Mike,
birthdays.
Gator Mike tweets us at Ramon Kayla Will. B-list celebrities, I would imagine, is what then will be on the Travis Kelce game show.
Yes.
Coming up, Bill Belichick is not an NFL coach because Robert Kraft made sure he was not getting another job. We'll tell you the interesting details of that story next.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson with QC Kinetics, and maybe you're waking up this morning feeling those aches and pains in your body. Well, QC Kinetics is the way to go. They're the leader in the most exciting revolution in pain management we've seen in decades. If you're tired of those achy joints, if your joint pain is keeping you from what you love to do, you need to call QC Kinetics today. Surgery, steroids, drugs, they are no longer your best options. Regenerative medicine is QC Kinetics' way of transforming lives with innovative treatments that deliver those lasting results. And we're talking about natural biologics, using your own body's power to repair and restore that damaged tissue. Dr. Shinecup is a pioneer in this field. He has over 20 years of clinical work, so he's done tons of research, teaching, and publishing. And now that's a way to get relief with a needle and not a knife. That's the biggest thing with QC Kinetics. So to learn more about some exciting options, you can give him a call now for a free consultation, 615-249-4024, 615-249-4024.
8 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Former Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins planning to sign with the Chargers on a one-year deal. Electric when healthy. Dobbins, who averaged 5.8 yards per carry in his career, reunites with offensive coordinator Greg Roman and can hit the market again next March. Teams are wrapping up their top 30 visits this week, with the Vol getting some play as wide receiver Ramel Keaton is in Miami today talking with the Dolphins. Keaton caught 35 balls for 642 yards and 6 touchdowns last year in Knoxville. 2 more play-in games down as the Bulls take out the Hawks, 131-116. Bulls guard Alex Caruso has a significant left ankle injury in his availability versus Miami on Friday, with the 8th seed is on the line. Andre Drummond stepped on his foot versus the Hawks in the play-in victory last night. And the 76ers eke out against the Heat, 105-104. Miami Heat star Jimmy Butler is feared to have an MCL injury in his knee. The injury could sideline Butler for an indefinite period. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed by 8th and Roast RKW on 104.5 The Zone, featuring Brainiac Ramon Foster. Our capitalized J journalist Kayla Anderson. Robert Walsh makes the show happen. Many are saying he is the best producer in the world.
Yeah.
He is.
I'm just Will. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports joins us at 9 o'clock this morning. Still to come on today's show, we've got off-the-beaten-path names that we like in the NFL draft, under the radar. And we have talked about so many people in the NFL draft process that we've had to go pretty far off that radar to find some that maybe we have not discussed that we think could be good prospects.
We have, but I think it's a true sign of where this team is as far as talent and as far as, the retention of former draft picks and stuff like that, man. This has been a long trek to get to this point. Now, I didn't realize we had gotten here. Of course, I mean, we just, for some fans, this was a very traumatic last year. Byard's gone, and then Derek's gone. And then you have other players that are out. I think the love that you have for Aziz after 1 year, and then, of course, Danico. Like, if all those people that we're naming, those spots got to be filled. And you're right, Will. We have picked up rocks. We have lifted up carpets. We've done everything when it comes down to finding prospects for this team, because it's going to be necessary that they rebuild this thing back up to where the expectations are. This fan base deserves some good stuff to be happening. It does.
And I think you got hope early on here because, look, Amy Adams-Strunk isn't messing around. Like, she was like, okay, we're going to reset, whatever you want to call it, rebuild, but we're going to do it, and we're going to take it seriously. And they did. I mean, look at the staff, and yet has to be proven. I get that. But it looks like they're all on the same page. They've spent money in the offseason. They've brought in guys who we're excited about. And I know from hearing from the fans and the listeners that listen to the station, they seem excited about. So at least you've got some good vibes headed into this draft that make you kind of excited for whoever you get at 7, whether that be Joe Alt or Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze, or even trading down and getting an extra pick and still getting some of these really talented guys. I think that's a good sign for Titans fan that you can at least be excited going into this season.
In an article written on ESPN.com by Seth Wickersham, Jeremy Fowler, and Don Van Natta Jr., there are some interesting details about why Bill Belichick did not become the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. One source, who is someone who spoke with a longtime friend of Bill Belichick, said he wonders if Belichick will ever coach again. Said, I don't think Bill Belichick will ever be a head coach again in the National Football League unless It's for Jerry Jones.
Says a lot about Jerry and Bill.
In this story, Magic Johnson, part of the new ownership group of the Washington Commanders, wanted Belichick. Josh Harris, the principal owner, did not. He had spoken privately with Robert Kraft about Belichick, told confidants in early December that he respected Belichick but wasn't going to hire him. He wanted the same leadership structure that he has in his ownership of the Philadelphia 76ers and the New Jersey Devils, a strong general manager over a head coach. And within this, you literally have Robert Kraft calling Arthur Blank after Arthur Blank and Bill Belichick met on the Falcons owner's yacht, saying, don't trust Bill Belichick. Both of them met. It appeared to be the deal that made the most sense. And then Bill Belichick and Arthur Blank checked each other's references for one another, and Robert Kraft was not the reference that Bill Belichick thought that he might be.
He was not. Robert Kraft came with some hot fire is what he did. I think Robert Kraft was somewhat burned by Bill Belichick. And not in the sense of, what he says, not what he call him is not great integrity, I think is what he said also. Just warned him about his character is what it was. And I think if you look at Bill Belichick, just on the surface of it, he looks like somebody you can't approach, unapproachable. And I'm sure that's how he wanted it to be. Some people live in that world where it's just like, all right, I need you to be nervous around me. And I think with that, you have a situation to where the building wanted to please Bill, wanted to be on the same page with him. He was a proven winner, whether that be Tom, whether that be Bill. Nobody really knows at this point. It's the fact that they got 5 Super Bowls, 6 Super Bowls altogether. So when you look at owners, right, and that's the thing about being an owner too, is you're very prideful. There is a level of, all right, I hired you to do the job for me, to make me look good also. And it seemed like a majority of what happened in New England over the course of time and winning championship, it became all about Bill. And I'm guessing the conversation was, look, if you want to control and have it your way and have some involvement, then Bill Belichick is not going to be your guy because he's going to take it over. He became, in my opinion, probably more powerful than Kraft until Kraft became more of a visible item on TV and everything. That's why you probably see him at the basketball games, whether he's in Philly, whether he's at the Boston Celtic games and stuff like that, just becoming more visible. It's Bill's team. It's all the praise go to Bill and Brady. But owners do want that praise, and I feel like he's probably looking out for Arthur Blank in the sense of, like, if you are really looking for a guy that's going to uplift your team and exalt you also, Bill ain't your guy.
It's crazy to me because what are relationships anymore? You spend all of this time with a man who helps you get the Lombardi trophies. And yes, Tom Brady is a huge part of that success too, and a reason why. But Bill Belichick's a damn good coach. And whether or not he still has it because he is maybe more old school and that's not the NFL direction, at least we're seeing with the coaching style nowadays, he still did your franchise a service of bringing those Lombardis there and really being the headline in terms of an NFL team for the past 20 years. I mean, we've been talking about the Patriots and we talk about until we're blue in the face when Bill Belichick and Tom Brady were together doing that. So it is so interesting to me that why kind of go out of your way if you're Robert Kraft to say, hey, I'm going to give some dirty stuff on here just to not get Bill a job, right? Yeah. And Bill, I don't want Bill to get another job, whether it be with the Atlanta Falcons or Carolina or wherever it might be. I just feel like it's weird to go to that level unless there was a lot more behind the scenes, y'all, than we knew.
It's petty.
And maybe there was, because you spend that much time with a guy that helps your franchise, that then helps you win and get money, and then you're going to go say that and prevent him from getting a job. I think it's interesting.
It's petty.
The other funny part about this is the Panthers part of it. A lot of different teams are linked in this. Heck, even the fact that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie like Belichick, and that around league circles there was chatter that if Philadelphia wanted to move on from Nick Sirianni, they could go get Bill, which is interesting. I think I'd rather still have Nick Sirianni than a in his 70s over the hill Bill Belichick. But man, if I'm a Panthers fan, I am as hopeless and upset with my ownership situation as anyone in this league. This in the article. The Carolina Panthers briefly discussed Belichick before he signed his 2-year extension with New England a year ago. But this offseason, Carolina decided to pass, a source said. Panthers owner David Tepper often sifts through data to critique his coach's play calling. That, according to a source, is tough to do with Belichick as the figurehead. The Panthers opted for 42-year-old Dave Canales instead. You think? You think that's difficult to do with Belichick? Could you imagine? Hey, Bill, why don't you step in my office real quick? Why'd you decide to run it on 3rd and 3? You know, my data as an owner who knows nothing about football, having never coached nor played it at this level, says you should have thrown it. You should have thrown it, buddy. What are you thinking?
I heard Al Davis was like that. I heard in his later years,
sure.
those mid-2000 teams.
I think he knew football.
I know, but like, here's the thing that when you're too involved as an owner as far as the Carolina Panthers go, is you look at the situation from what I was told, the players I played with that came from Oakland at the time was this. He'd be out there in his golf cart in practice, and he'd see a few plays go through, and he'd summon the coaches and change the entire game plan.
Wow.
That's how you lose.
I totally believe it. And I like Dave Canales, too, for what it's
I do,
worth.
yeah, I do, too.
He was my guy.
He was your guy for
got
Titans.
a shot here. Yeah, for sure. I get it. Like, that's touching too close. Like, I think there's a level of involvement of ownership that has to be had because they are the owner. But when it comes to football, you hire these people to trust them. Mm-hmm. And it's clear that Kraft didn't trust Belichick. And as it pertains to Tepper, Tepper wants some involvement. I've heard he's going to be more hands-off. I've heard he's going to let the coaches coach. I think his method has been proven that you don't know it. Hey, hire them and then fire them if they're bad. But it shouldn't be based upon what you like and don't like on the field as a owner. Like, it should be wins and losses is your only concern.
Crazy.
Like, some people like to tell players shut up and dribble. I tell owners shut up and just
Shut
watch
up and
sometimes.
and make money.
Yeah.
Sign my paychecks.
Please.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Let me do this thing that you hired me for.
Coming up, there is a longtime sports writer who works with our good friend Tyler Dunn and does a series on golongtd.com every draft season of what he is hearing from scouts and general managers about each individual position and the top players at each position around the league. Well, today he posts info on tackles, and there are a lot of nuggets about Joe Alt that we'll dive into coming up next. What's going on? It's Will Bowling. Are you thinking about replacing your air conditioning unit? Hey, maybe in the mid-80s heat wave we've had over the last week, you're thinking to yourself, all right, this thing is not kicking into high gear the way that it used to. Cannot afford to be going through summer nights in Middle Tennessee with no AC. Well, if the answer is yes, you got to go to the experts at League Company. Ask them about their current special financing offers and do it while the weather overnight is still in the 50s or 60s. Your heating and air conditioning system, it not only keeps your home comfortable year-round, but it can also help enhance the quality of air around you and for your loved ones as well. Don't wait until your old system breaks. Have League Company take a look today. And right now, you can get $1,250 off the price of a new AC unit. That's right, $1,250. So give them a call, 615-567-1000, or visit them online at leaguecompany.com. That's 615-567-1000. League Company, all you need. RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed by 8th and Roast on 104.5 The Zone. You can join the discussion, 615-737-1045. Whole crew here, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling. Robert Walsh spins the hits. Tell you what, it is beautiful outside.
Is it?
Summer, it feels like, is here. And we always prematurely declare that. We don't get a lot of like intermediate seasons. We either have summer or winter, I feel like, in this city. But I just went outside for a minute. It feels outstanding. Go frolic at a field somewhere today if you have the time.
Or golf. Like
that is saying. What I will be doing. That was the field I will be frolicking in. Looking for golf balls that I have deposited in the bushes.
Good bit of cloud cover. I've yet to make my trek outside.
But that's always kind of nice, right? As long as it's warm.
Oh, I take the cloud cover all day long. I actually have learned I will get sunburned.
Wear your I was just gonna say, wear your sunscreen even if there's cloud cover.
Yeah, or my hat. So yeah, man, I'm on the next break. I'm going outside. How about that?
Speaking of golf, I've got a fun prank you can play, Will. Before you go out there to play some golf today, you should stop by your whatever grocery store is local to you and pick up a bag of marshmallows. And if you scatter those across the greens or wherever you drive, people will be like, oh, this is my ball. Not,
oh, my God.
Who is putting these dadgum marshmallows out here all over the field? I can't find my ball. There's 45 marshmallows out here.
How does your brain come up with these things?
Goodness. I can't take all the credit for that, but I don't know. I was spurned against golfers early in my life, watching Jackass and seeing Johnny Knoxville hide in trees and blow air horns at them. So I've always been, and they get so mad. Golfers get more mad than any other participants when heckling. So much so that you cannot heckle at golf events. One other sport is like, shut up. You paid to be here. You're not allowed to talk. The golfers are so easily shaken that I enjoy the idea of shaking them.
Did you see that from the Masters with Zach Johnson?
Oh, yeah.
Over the weekend?
No, what happened?
He yelled back at a heckler.
People were joking that because he was the captain of the U.S. Ryder Cup team that lost in Rome last fall, and allegedly people were making jokes at him, and somebody said something to the effect of, you're an even worse coach than Urban Meyer on one of the tee boxes, and they just kept cheering against him. So then he made a triple bogey at one point, and people started cheering, and he looked around and said, ask them politely to bleep off.
Yep.
And it's not even that part that's bad. It's then when he was asked about it, he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I did not address the patrons.
Maybe he blanked out.
What are they saying that I said? And when video specifically shows him like turning away from where he was walking and saying that, it's interesting. I don't even mind like yelling back because you're getting a lot of crap, but at least own it if you're going to do that.
Look, Ricky Fowler, who is like, a fan favorite. Even when he doesn't win, he's still a fan favorite. He got perturbed at one of the tournaments recently because this guy kept on pulling out his camera.
Yeah.
You cannot do that when they're in the middle of their swing. You cannot be doing anything with your camera.
Or we're talking about phone camera.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, phone. Like, it doesn't matter. You cannot do that. Yeah. And this guy kept on pushing the buttons, and Ricky finally turned around. He was like, man, you right there, and he got him kicked out.
Yeah, he did.
And it's interesting, like pushing some of the buttons of these golfers, like they'll eventually break.
So hold up real quick. I don't want to derail this real quick. All right, but real quick. So you can't pull out your phone to can you video a shot? Like, or you can't click?
You can. You just can't make any noise.
So it's already got to be up.
Golfers are very sensitive.
Very particular.
Okay.
I truly didn't know this.
I would love for Ramon to go to a big golf event.
Me too.
and then someone's backswing, he's just like,
yeah. That's a lot of focus right there.
And they would point you out in a minute.
It would.
There would be no hiding.
Ramon would be like, did you see how quick he swung that?
Yeah.
No way. Oh my God.
I enjoy watching people do their stuff great. Like I genuinely do.
You would be the type you would be turned around watching the next tee box while you're at a green.
Yes.
Like, this is some cool stuff. That's my bad.
Golf boys.
He would be like,
my
hey,
bad.
Mr. Caddy, come here. How do you know what clubs to tell him to use?
How do you know which
How long have you been a caddy? That's crazy.
It's the high pitch, really.
Really?
Dude, that would be phenomenal.
I had somebody tell me once before, like, are you messing with me? And not in those words. It was the other word. Are you messing? I was like, what are you talking about?
Fooling around with you?
Yeah, fooling around. I was like, it's like you say, oh, really? I was like, because I'm genuinely shocked. Like, I inquire and want to know about you. You know, and you know
You're
why.
a journalist.
You know how many times people come up to me and just, for years, decades now, hey, man, tell me about this game and what you do in that game. What do? You know what the hell I do. You see my size.
Anyway.
I'm either bouncing at a club or I play professional sports. Okay, that's why I tell people I'm a synchronized swimmer. You know doggone well what I do or did or doing.
Steve at Mount Juliet is on the lines. He was blessed to be in Augusta.
Oh, jelly.
Over the weekend. What's up, Steve?
Hey, guys. No, I just heard your comment about the picture taking, and you could take a video. You cannot take a cell phone.
Yeah, right.
The Masters.
Right, yeah, not the Masters at all.
Yeah, you can't take one of
no
the Masters.
cell phones there.
Which
okay,
is
is that different from other big tournaments?
Yes.
I haven't been to too many. So.
Yes, you can take them into other ones. My goodness, in Scottsdale at the Waste Management, you can pretty much do whatever you want at that one. But yeah, the Masters, you're right.
The Waste Management deal is very unique, and I think unfortunately everybody wants to be like that now.
Yep.
So, but because that's quite a party. But the Masters was cool. 15 years in the lottery, finally got drawn for a practice.
Wow.
It's the course is. TV does not do it justice. We walked 8.5 miles that day. We were there because we wanted to see the whole course. But it's an awesome experience if you ever get a chance.
Love it.
Steve, I've heard that too. The TV does not do it justice, which is wild because watching it, I just watch sometimes just to see how beautiful it is. And if that doesn't do it justice, that's incredible.
Steve, you know how to call us if you want to bring us with you next time.
I love that Steve flex. Is that how they do it at other golf tournaments? You know, I've just been to too many of them, you know.
It's great.
Hey, keep going off, Steve.
Love that.
Good for you, Steve, winning the lottery, man.
15 years.
I'd rather win that lottery than the actual lottery. If I'm being, that's not true at all. All right, so
I was about to say.
GoLongTD.com. Bob McGinn is an outstanding NFL writer. 40th year that he has covered the NFL draft. And this piece now is on GoLongTD.com. Bob McGinn has written his NFL draft series in the Green Bay Press Gazette, the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, Bob McGinn Football, The Athletic, now GoLongTD.com since 2022. Until 2014, many personnel people were actually quoted by name in this series. The series reluctantly adopted an all-anonymous format in 2015 at the request of scouts. Essentially, if you're unfamiliar, Bob McGinn talks to scouts, puts out anonymous quotes from scouts all around the league, and goes position by position at GoLongTD.com. That is our friend Tyler Dunn's website, GoLongTD.com. We cannot recommend a subscription enough to GoLongTD.com. Our own Ramon Foster was a guest on one of their Zoom happy hours recently.
It was.
And Tyler does outstanding work, and it is long-form storytelling in a way that is informative, in a way that is entertaining. Highly recommend it. So, scouts voted on best tackles, and this is regarded by these scouts and by Bob McGinn as a good to outstanding year for tackles. Last year, he writes, Ohio State's Paris Johnson was the first to be picked when he went 6th to Arizona. When 16 scouts were asked how many of this year's tackles were better prospects than Paris Johnson, the average of their responses was 3.3. So Paris Johnson would have been anywhere from tackle 3 to 4, according to NFL scouts who talked to Bob McGinn in this year's tackle draft. Joe Alt led the way with 9 first-place votes and 87 total points in this ranking. Following in order, J.C. Latham, Troy Fatanu of Washington, who Field Yates wrote this morning as his number 10 overall prospect, right behind Joe Alt at number 9. Tale Fuaga, Olu Fashanu, and then a massive drop-off. Then you go Jackson Powers Johnson, Amarius Mims, Tyler Guyton, Graham Barton, and so on. This is not just tackles. This is all offensive linemen in this part of the evaluation process. Interesting to me, though, as we look at this, the number one thing, guys, that sticks out to me is that the guys right behind J.C. Latham as the number 2 tackle are essentially graded the exact same. Troy Fatanu, Tale Fuaga, and Olu Fashanu, 47 points, 45 points, and 44 points. There is not a lot of separation after, in their opinion, the top two, which is Joe Alt and then J.C. Latham.
I'm somewhat shocked that J.C. Latham's getting this high praise of it. If it's all offensive linemen, then yeah, I get it for sure. I think what's super fascinating about him and his write-up is this: when it breaks down to him, he's a guy that can be a Pro Bowl right tackle or Pro Bowl guard too. Mm-hmm. And I think that's super unique for an individual like him. You speak on his athletic ability, he has it. You look at his size, he has it. You look at how aggressive he is, he has it. That's one thing I noticed about his game too. His side to side was good. I did not love his feet at tackle, sometimes especially with speed guys, and that's essentially what was said in the article. Also, is you got to worry about his feet sometime at tackle. I think is a primarily right tackle or either guard. If you draft him here in Nashville, you won't have him at left guard. You got that guy already. He's got the arm length, he's got the hands, he's got the strength, he's got the size. There's nothing that you won't like about him. It's a matter of how good can his feet be, how much can he help and change his body from year one to year two. But he seems to be a dude. But they say him primarily right tackle, though.
So, I thought it was interesting, too, because reading some of this article by Bob McGinn and, again, asking some of the scouts their thoughts on these players when talking about Olu Fashanu, the whole thing that came out of this was the small hands. And this scout in particular saying, those are girls' hands. That was a longtime personnel man that had said that specifically. And his hands were measured at like 8.5 inches during the combine. And one of those things that I think is interesting is we haven't heard a ton about Olu in terms of this draft process once we heard his name initially, right? That's been one of the tackles or just one of the linemen that hasn't really seen an increase, but it's not like he's completely dropped. And I wanted to ask you specifically with the hand size. We've heard about it with quarterbacks, specifically your guy over there and Kenny Pickett that's no longer there. But how about in terms of a lineman? How effective, especially at a tackle position, is that even a thing?
I don't think it's that big of an issue. In the article, it also said, look, I much rather worry about arm length than hand size. Right. If you believe what you're watching on film, then you can make it true. Like, one thing I said about him was I feel like he allows guys into his body more than he possibly should. And one guy in here actually said, well, is that because of his hands? No, I think it's still he's a young tackle, inexperienced, like a lot of young tackles coming out of college. You got to learn how to punch. You learn how to utilize your hands. When it comes down to him putting paws on people, as we like to say sometimes, it could be problematic, but his feet are so good that he's able to, minimize what a deficiency of having smaller hands are. 8.5. I got 10s. I was looking at them earlier.
You were looking at yours in the break.
I was like, how big are my hands? Like, mine was measuring like 10-inch hands. And I'm like, all right, I know that to have been an advantage for me. I will say that. I don't know if I've been around a lineman with smaller hands because you naturally have big hands if you're a big dude, especially at his size. If you want it, knock it, you can. Is it problematic? Probably not, because if he develops a strong punch and he's working with Duke Manyweather in Texas, then I expect technique to take over him more than anything.
So if you have been listening to our draft coverage, maybe you listen to us on the way into work every morning, you're passively following the draft because, let's face it, for a lot of the NFL population, you don't dive into the NFL draft until the week of the NFL draft. Well, hey, look, it's the week before the NFL draft. And if you've heard us talk about Joe Alt, if you've heard people smarter than us, and there are many, break down his film and talk about why he is such a good tackle, why he's such a good fit, but you haven't really turned up the radio enough yet, maybe you're just catching up on the draft process, this is as well as we can describe Joe Alt. Bob McGinn does it for us, from what scouts say. 6 foot 8.5, 321 pounds, 5'07", 40. And Bob McGinn writes that scouts say he's just like his dad. John Alt was 6'7", 270 out of Iowa when Kansas City drafted him number 21 overall as a left tackle in 1984. Natural left tackle, smooth like his dad was. One scout says, I imagine he worked with his dad because his pass technique is just exceptional and he has great pass level as a run blocker, or great pad level. I think that's a typo in there. Played some tight end as a true freshman. One scout, I like this, for a 6 foot 8.5 guy, says he bends like a 6'4" guy. He's got immediate leverage on the outside rusher. He has long arms, 34 1/4 inches, and uses them to punch and push the speed rusher wider. He can pick up stunts and pass the rusher off to the inside. Really good quickness out of his stance. He bends his knees. You can't get any better than this. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good to me. Any of the remotely negative things. A third scout tells Bob McGinn, he's a nice player, don't get me wrong, but I've seen a lot of tackles over the years I think were as good, if not better than him. But if you look over the last number of years, there are not many great ones. Another one says, I just don't like anybody that tall, but he's got ridiculous makeup, ridiculous pedigree. He's steady and sturdy, knows how to play.
Yeah.
How much does being 6'8" hurt you as a tackle?
It can. It can.
So when a scout says he bends like a 6'4" guy, explain that for me.
That's perfectly fine for me. That's telling me he understands his height and has pad level control. He's also got a good core and good base. Means he rises up out of his stance instead of popping straight up. He doesn't play tall, but he's not a waist bender either. When you hear him say he bends well or he plays like a 6'4" guy, it's because he know pad level is a thing. I'm sure his dad put him through the chutes and all those types of things as far as keeping his pads down. Have you ever seen the chutes? There is this square type of contraption on practice field that players have to go through, and you hit and you rise to come up out of it. It's a natural progression of blocking. He does that perfectly. The issue, though, Will, having played with a guy who's Alejandro 6'9", 6'10".
Alejandro Villanueva.
Villanueva.
Pittsburgh Steeler.
Army Ranger. This individual. You know where it becomes, where a scout says, I don't like a guy that tall, where it becomes problematic? Is having. Give me a rusher.
Smaller or bigger guy?
Yeah, smaller.
Medium size, thick
Von
guy.
Miller.
Von. A little bit
Miles
thicker.
Garrett.
Miles Garrett.
Yeah, there's
Miles
that one.
Garrett. At 6'8", in situational ball, where you know this is 3rd and 7, gotta have it. When you have a guy that tall and a guy like Miles Garrett want to run through him and create pressure for the quarterback. And you know you got to get up. It's empty. You versus him, and a guy that tall with his balance and base can become problematic because they will get pushed back because of the size. You got to absorb it. If he's not going to add, and I think he added maybe 8 to 10 pounds in this pre-draft from what his listed weight was, Alejandro struggled to, I ain't going to say struggle, but he made it a point to always stay around 330.
Yeah.
At 6'9", 330, he could hold the anchor. If Joe Alt is 6'9", 320, 315, guys running down the middle of him can be problematic because he is so long. Now, again, this guy was born into technique, offensive line.
Gave up
technique.
2 sacks his entire college career.
And that's the thing you have to look at too. Like he comes from that like football pedigree, right? Where he knows nothing more than like this is the way you do things because it's a family affair for him. But he also has the physical traits to actually go out there and do it at that level. Taylor Lewan was also pretty tall for a left tackle. He's 6'7".
If I was getting a tackle, I want him no higher than 6'7".
Okay.
That's just me.
Yeah.
And I see AJ in the chat says, so Skoronski's too short at 6'5". No, Skoronski's not too short at 6'5".
The arms were the thing with him.
But all is too tall. I think 6'8", 6'9", it can be problematic because of the amount of exposed space that you're giving them as far as how they can bull rush you.
And he's listed at 6'7", right?
Who?
Alt.
No,
Joe Alt's 6'8".
Oh, he is? Okay.
6'8.5".
That's the whole point, is
So
that
that-
he's really pushing 6'9".
See,
And cleats, I think he's 6'9".
and cleats. Okay.
One scout says he's got mental stamina, which is huge for the position.
Yes.
He'll be maybe a Pro Bowl level tackle, but I don't think he'll be an all-pro guy because he's just going to have some innate issues the way he's built.
Which is okay, right? Because there's literally 2 All-Pros every year. There's 64 starting tackles.
I would agree.
I can live with the fact that he's not an All-Pro.
I would rather have a guy that is Pro Bowl level, but his floor is you start every game and you only allow a couple of sacks a year versus the guy who has all-pro level potential, but also has you're giving up 8 or 9 sacks a year level floor because we've had too many of those tackles here over the last few years. 615-737-1045. You can react to that. You can also react to a wild moment in a press conference that has set the internet ablaze from Indianapolis yesterday. We'll talk about that next.
It's Ramon Foster for Artisan Custom Closets. All right, it's time to make your home into an oasis of calm before the summer with Artisan Custom Closets. With custom store solutions that are made to suit you, your style, and the best part of it all, your budget. You can get that clutter organized and out of the way. Artisan Custom Closets can help you get organized in any space of your home, from walk-in closets to pantries, garages, or laundry rooms. Start your free in-house design consultation and take advantage of their multiple financing options also. Schedule your consultation now at artisancustomclosets.com.
Well, odds are if you were on the internet yesterday, you definitely saw this interaction we are about to play for you. It's RKW brewed by 8th and Rose. Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports will join us coming up in 10 minutes. So Caitlin Clark had her introductory press conference as a member of the Indiana Fever. And sports writers, heck, NBA players, were showing up to this, interviewing her, getting to know her, and beginning a professional career for Caitlin Clark. Then Greg Doyle of the Indianapolis Star has this exchange with the former Iowa Star.
Hi, Caitlin. Greg Doyle, Indy Star. Real quick, let me do this.
You like that?
I like that you're here. I like that you're here.
I do that at my family after every game, so.
Okay, well, let's start doing it to me and we'll get along just fine. So, question is...
I can't.
So what happened was Caitlin Clark, after games, does a heart with her hands up to her family. So before he asked his question, Greg Doyle made a heart at Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark said, oh, I do that at every game, whatever. And he said, yeah, just do that to me and we'll be just fine.
Bro.
So this set off quite a chain reaction. It was kind of weird. A little bit creepy. Greg Doyle then apologized, and he wrote a column on the Indianapolis Star titled, Caitlin Clark, I'm so sorry. On Wednesday, I was part of the problem, and talks about being awkward, talks about his denial, his anger at the situation, says, I should have known better. I was just trying to do what I do, talk to another athlete, another person. It didn't see the line, didn't even know there was a line in the vicinity until I crossed it. I offended Caitlin and her family, yada, yada, yada. Everything about this was weird.
Yo, Greg Doyle, you should know better. You've been doing this for a long time. You're a columnist. You take your work very seriously, or so I thought. Was this a grab to get attention on, to write an article even on this because he knew it would be an attention grabber? I just thought the whole thing was so freaking awkward. And to put her in her first time in front of all those people, and she's now going to be the star of really that state, if you think about it. If I felt awkward, I'm sure she felt awkward in the whole situation. But then for him to write an article and be like, I should have known better. Yeah, you should have known better to never have done it, Greg Doyle, because you are like an old man in this business. You've been doing it for a long time.
I get it. I feel him on where he did it. He thought he was, she's in his state, part of his game he's going to be covering for years. He probably felt comfortable with her bringing that type of stuff up. There's always a line. He should be professional. In his mind, I'm sure it's probably a way better execution than it was in real life. So I fully get that. We all say and do silly, stupid stuff like this. I bet it won't happen again. My only issue with it is, of course, is how sexist it sounds with what he was trying to get at. Hey, do it towards me. That right there was definitely line stepping. You can't go that far. But I guess, how informed he was about her, it just showed his ugly head on how, you got to really know these people and get an understanding and what gets them to tick. I get it. I do. I ain't taking up for him, but I get why he said what he said. It was just cringy as ever.
Well, and Ryan Powell said in the chat, imagine if a woman reporter did that to a male basketball player. I'm a woman reporter. I've been in this business a long time. If I were to do something like that, and there has been instances, but immediately what that goes to is that female sleeping with that athlete. That is also a whole other thing that people start to talk about, and there'll be false narratives out there. So it's not like women don't get the full gamut too, if that were to be something that happens.
Yeah, it happens. Definitely does. It's the same thing with Kim English. People talking about him being what was asking if he was married, and
somebody literally asked Kim English after an NCAA tournament game, the internet wants to know if you're single.
Yeah.
Essentially.
This types of stuff happen. People say stuff all the time. I'm not overly offended by it. I hope Caitlin wasn't either. It's weird, and
it was just awkward.
Yeah.
I don't know if offended is the right word.
From his delivery, it seemed
awkward.
Like he was just awkward. You know what I mean? He wasn't. That's not what he planned to say. He was just trying to go back and forth, and then said something inappropriate.
And yes, he is an older man. Like, he's been doing this for a long time. I'm not trying to like poo-poo him for being an older man in the business. I'm saying because he should know better.
Yeah, I think the whole thing, when you go to your website and you write a column to apologize, I think there are connotations to that are pretty negative. Like, I don't think Greg Doyle was trying to have this interaction that way he could get attention and write about it. And I do think some of the internet comments at him are pretty ridiculous. Like, the internet piles on onto a character like this when they have a bad moment, and it goes way too far the other way. Like, the people in some of the comments, if you read his mentions, are disgusting, to be honest with you. Now, he deserves certainly blowback because he made a mistake. I think he knows it. But if I'm him, I'm not covering up that mistake by then trying to get people to go to my website. Like, just make a Twitter thread for free. Mm-hmm. If you really want to apologize and do the right thing. That's my issue with columnists in general, is when everything has got to be like, well, let me go to my website to respond. Like, no, like, sometimes it's just really not that deep. Like, just doesn't need to be behind any kind of paywall. This was a free article, so it wasn't, but I
almost wonder if the Indy Star made him do that, because he's a reflection of their publication. Probably. So to put the apology out on their platform would make sense to me from Indy Star's perspective.
Yeah, it's just
an ugly situation,
and
we'll move on. We'll move on after this weekend, and someone else will do something stupid, and hopefully he'll learn from his lesson, and we don't have situations like this again.
He basically tried to become, in my opinion, her guy to go to.
Yeah,
certainly. And the time to do that is not in an introductory press conference. The time to do that is shake someone's hand after the press conference is over and say, hey, I'm Greg. Really, really nice to meet you. We're glad to have you in the city. I look forward to building a relationship professionally. Yeah, sure. Coming up, Bryant McFadden, CBS Sports, talks Titans, NFL draft headlines, much, much more. B-Mac on the other side.
It's Ramon Foster here for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Y'all, April, hey, let's start saving some money, all right? Smile and save this month with Hill, all right? From now until the end of this month, April 30th, 30 days in this month, all right? Take advantage of big savings on home systems, where you can enjoy up to $1,500 off select new HVAC system, whole home water filtration and descalers, or select new whole home generators. Always clutch to have that backup power at your house, and Hiller has them in plenty, all right? So if you've been waiting for the right time to upgrade or replace your systems, now is the time. Stop waiting around before it gets too hot outside. Visit happyhiller.com today for details.
9:01. What's going on from the 104.5 The Zone Studios? I am Robert Walsh. A little bit of breaking news from the free agency market this morning. And as the Browns signing veteran free agent offensive lineman Jermaine McFadden, who has made 59 career starts at right tackle, 24 at right guard. Last year spent the season with the Bills, but did not appear in a game. Yesterday, another free agent off the market in former Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins, as he's planning to sign a one-year deal with the Chargers. Electric when healthy, Dobbins averaged 5.8 yards a carry in his career, reuniting with offensive coordinator Greg Roman with a chance to hit the market again next March. Teams also wrapping up their top 30 visits this week, with Eval getting some play and wide receiver Ramel Keaton, as he is in Miami talking with the Dolphins. Keaton caught 35 balls, 642 yards, and 6 touchdowns. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Off we go into the fourth and final hour of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW, as always, is brewed by 8th and Roast with Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling. We are pleased to be joined on the phones by one of our favorites. He is CBS Sports' Bryant McFadden, stopping by for a few minutes this morning. What's up, B-Mac? How are you?
I'm great, man. How's everyone doing?
We're good, Mac.
Man, we're good. We're just ready for the draft to start. It does feel like you get to this last week, man, and we have talked about every player. We've talked about every option. Like, this last week feels like the most monotonous, doesn't it?
No question. I mean, it's addictive also. Think about the amount of mock drafts that we've all went over. Think about the amount of mock drafts that we've done, just trying to predict what we think will happen. And we don't have a clue, right? We don't have a clue. And oftentimes, a lot of these organizations don't have a clue either until the draft actually starts.
B-Mac, from one veteran in NFL secondaries to another that just got added by the Titans this offseason in Chiefs defensive back L'Jarius Sneed. I wanted to ask you about him before we get to some of these draft topics. How much do you like that move for the Titans, and what do you like about his game specifically?
I love the move for the Titans because now you solidify your cornerback one in your secondary. You solidify a guy that has high-level experience. You're able to bring in a guy who's very, very physical, not just in coverage, but as a tackler as well. And he's a guy that can lead. He's been successful since stepping foot in the National Football League. So you instantly improve your secondary when you go get a guy like L'Jarius Sneed. And that has been an area of concern for the Titans for quite some time. You guys know firsthand. They've been trying to address that issue via the draft. But the last few drafts, when you look at some of the guys they brought in, highly invested draft players that haven't really panned out. So that was a big time plus. And also, too, getting a Woozy from Cincinnati, a guy that's been in the league for quite some time, started off in Dallas, Cincinnati most recently, and now they're in Tennessee. He also improves the secondary. When you talk about adding Sneed and adding the Woozy, you add so much high-level experience in the secondary.
Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports joining us this morning. B-Mac, as it pertains to the secondary, man, I want to ask you a safety question at first, man, because it's one of those positions that's somewhat being devalued, but they're also very important to the defense and the things they do for. If you're a young guy in this draft or in general in the NFL and you're a safety, what ways can you make yourself valuable so that you're not one of those replaceable pieces that GMs always look to replace?
Most importantly for me, when you look at the safety position, I consider the safety position to have the same value as the center position for an offense, right? It kind of gets overlooked when you look at the offensive line play, but it's super important because when we talk offensive line play, Ramon, what we start the conversation with the tackle position, left or right. And then you kind of transition to the guard. And the last piece you talk about of the offensive line is the center. But you know how important the center position is to the offense. especially to the quarterback. The center have to communicate. The center has to make sure everyone is on the same page. That's the same mindset for a safety when you play in the secondary. The safety has to make sure they're a great communicator. They're like the teacher in the classroom. They kind of dictating and telling everybody where to go and what to look for. And ultimately, you have to be the last line of defense, keeping everything in front of you. So if you're trying to showcase the value that you have playing the safety position, the most important thing I would advise, learn everything on the defense. Don't just learn what guys are doing in the secondary, but learn also what guys are doing in the second level and the first level. Because when you learn everyone's position, now you're able to keep everyone lined up. Most importantly, also, too, you can kind of work off of them based on what you know they're going to do.
No doubt. B-Mac, in some lists, man, they have the number 3 and first ACC player, and you're an ACC player, Fuller State alum. Coming out of the secondary as far as cornerbacks is Nate Wiggins, man. Some have him smaller in size as far as his weight goes, but he's 6'1", 173, ran a 4.2. How do you view a guy like him if you were a team interested in picking a corner if the Titans do move back?
I mean, number one, I think the Titans should move out of the top 10. I really do. I think if the Titans can get somewhere in the teens, that's a great spot for them because you still improve your team based on the need that you need, and you get more draft capital moving forward. So I think that's the best option for Tennessee. In regards to Nate Wiggins, he's a first-rounder for sure. He's a first-round talent. He reminds me a little bit of Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. You know, not a little thin. Well, not a little thin. He is thin. Right, super athletic, super fast, very, very instinctive. And I think he will continue to grow into his body, similar to what we saw with DRC throughout his professional career. Great career, by the way. But when you look at Nate Wiggins, I mean, the fastest corner in the draft, I had Nate on my podcast, and Nate gave me some disturbing news, guys. Nate told me, and of course, you know, he ran a 4.28 at the combine, but he said he strained his hip in his first 10 to 15 strides, and he was disappointed that he ran a 4.28. I'm like, Nate, that's first world problems. What are you talking about? Why are you mad you ran a 4.28? Like, you know how many people would pay to run a 4.28? But he was basically saying that he would have ran faster. He would have had a faster time if he didn't strain his hip in his first 10 to 15 steps of that 40. So when you talk about that speed, you can't coach that. Now, the issue for Nate, his weight, and also, too, tackling. He has to become a better tackler going to the next level because you guys know, man, if you can't tackle, offenses will put you in position to try to tackle because they believe you're not good enough to do so. So that's one area of concern for me, and I think he will improve that element. But outside of that, man, Nate Wiggins will be a first-round guy. Hear his name called in the first round. I think he's going to have an outstanding career.
Let's talk about some guys who might not be first-round guys that the Titans even could be potentially looking at. Maybe even if, like you said, they trade down, they get a third-round pick that they don't have right now. The cornerbacks, they have them right now, but they would also like to build some depth at this position. Bryant McFadden, what would you do in terms of if there's a chance to get one a little bit later, who would you go for?
All right, so the way I see with Tennessee, my draft scenario would be Tennessee move out of the top 10, like I stated. See if you can do some good business with the Raiders. You know, flirt with the Raiders, try to go get, I think Raiders are at 13 right now. You still potentially going to get an offensive lineman in the first round. I think that's the biggest need for Tennessee first round is an offensive lineman. Heck, Joe Alt might still be available, especially if the Jets do the unthinkable and take Brock Bowers at 10, right? So if you can go ahead and make that happen, now, as you mentioned, Kayla, you get more draft capital in the second round. If I'm Tennessee, I think this is a name that potentially could be there. He's a first-round talent, but he might fall in the second round. Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama. And the thing about Kool-Aid is that, yeah, we're talking so much about Terrion Arnold, his teammate. And remember, if you go back to last summer getting ready for the 2023 college football season, Kool-Aid was considered the best corner in college football. He kind of lost a little bit of that leverage based on his play, but it wasn't because Kool-Aid was just playing bad football. He wasn't getting a lot of target, and I think he was played injured the entire season because remember he didn't run at the combine because he had a fractured bone in his foot that he had to get healthy to be able to perform in his pro day. So you're telling me Kool-Aid McKinstry still put up high-level play, basically playing injured, he potentially could fall out of the first round. And if that's the case, if you're Tennessee, if he is there, man, get the Kool-Aid packages ready there in Nashville because he's going to be a heck of a baller.
Yeah, and he showed he's a dog when he goes in on his pro day and runs with that Jones fracture, whatever it was. Also, I'm curious, with now wide receivers being of plenty, it seems like more and more drafts now we're seeing guys be impactful players in year one as wide receivers. How much more important does that make than the back end and really finding your cornerbacks of the future and making sure you have that solidified as a position as all these wide receivers just seem to be flooding out of the draft?
Yeah, wide receivers, it's a talented class once again. I mean, when you look at the wide receivers that are already in National Football League, they can go. And if you don't have secondary guys that can really do their job and do so consistently, I mean, you're going to find you're going to have issues winning ball games. You know, Dick LeBeau said, you know, one of the two main positions that will determine if you win or lose ball games is quarterback and cornerback. And think about it. If you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win. If you don't have cornerbacks, you're not going to win. And that's why we saw the Tennessee Titans become so aggressive in free agency at cornerbacks, because that was an Achilles heel for your defense. So when it comes to trying to continue to add depth at that position, no question, the same feeling when you talk about the depth at the wide receiver position is kind of there at cornerback. So for me, Tennessee, yeah, you still want to add some talent. You know, we gave the scenario maybe taking a cornerback in the second round. I mean, if you can think about this, guys. You go get Joe Alt in the first round. You go get Kool-Aid in the second round. You've won the draft. Regardless of what happens in round 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, if you go get those two guys, if that can happen, if that can become a reality, Tennessee Titan fans are extremely ecstatic about what is going to happen when you talk about the personnel being better than what they've seen in years past.
B-Mac, I know you are high on the Houston Texans. How big of a problem do the Titans have in them in the AFC South right now?
Oh, boy. I don't know if you really want to bring that up now. We're talking about good things for Tennessee moving forward. But, boy, hey, listen, Houston, they're cooking with gas right now. And the thing about Houston, they added Stephon Diggs, but they didn't really need Stephon Diggs. They didn't. I think without Stephon Diggs, they're a playoff caliber team, clearly the favorite to win their division in the AFC South, and a team that could probably make a postseason run based on what they did last year. And it starts with the quarterback play and C.J. Stroud. The quarterback, D'Amico Ryans, and the added talent they've added. So for Tennessee, I look at, and Ramon, you know how it goes with organizations, right? The draft and what you do in free agency determines the team you're chasing in your division, right? And let's keep it real. Every team in the AFC South that's not named the Houston Texans, they're chasing the Houston Texans. So what you need to do is, the best way to get closer to that chase with the Texans, find guys that can help you be successful against the Texans and what they do best. Number one, you better go get guys that can cover guys, because they got a quarterback that can make any pass catcher look better than what they've done. We saw that with Nico Collins last year playing with C.J. Stroud, and same could be said with Tank Dell, right? You better find an offense that can protect your passer, because they're going to bring a lot of exotic-like pressures to put pressure on your opposing quarterback. So for Tennessee, I mean, you got to find ways to put together a team that can be competitive in a consistent basis against the Houston Texans. And so far, when you look at what the Tennessee Titans have done, addressing concerns in the secondary, that's a Houston Texans move. And let's see exactly how it plays out in the draft.
Great points, as always, by Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports, joining us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will at BMac_Sports Talk, where you find him on Twitter. BMac, great stuff as always, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Matt.
Thanks, BMac.
Yes, anytime. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. There he is. Bryant McFadden advocating for a trade back out of the top 10. Let's react to that coming up next. Plus, take a look at off-the-radar NFL draft prospect names to remember. We'll each bring one to the table coming up next. Friday Junior, Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, brewed by 8th and Roast. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. The Buck Rising Show coming up in just over a half hour. 615-737-1045. You can react to any of the discussions we've had this morning. They're in the phone lines with us. We are wide open to finish the show. Still reading through this Bob McGinn piece, golongtd.com. And Ramon, you have found an interesting nugget on one prospect you liked a lot in person.
And I still do like him, but I could see exactly what's been broken down about this guy in particular.
So Oklahoma tackle Tyler Guyton, who Jim Nagy of the Senior Bowl said on this show was his number one tackle in the draft at that point of the process, coming off the Senior Bowl. One scout tells Bob McGinn, longtime NFL draft insider and writer on golongtd.com, that he thinks Tyler Guyton only steps up for big games against big edge rushers.
That's problematic right there, because what are we supposed to do against teams we're supposed to beat? What are you supposed to do against guys that have no name, right? That's the issue that you run into if you got a guy that only want to play up for big events. Some weeks it's a non-televised 12 o'clock game, and we just got to go win a game. And in those situations, it is a second scout says this about him. It's two scouts have with the same descriptions of a Tyler Guyton is this. He gets beats by guys he has no business losing to. In the run game, his temperament and finish is very inconsistent. And that right there is problematic, because in the run game, that's where you set the standard for what the play and the game is going to be about. Again, when you're dealing sometime with like elite athletes, dudes that just know, man, I can bench press 32 just laying down, or I can jump 32 inches on the vertical, or I'm going to run a 4.9 at 300 pounds. The issue with those types of dudes that know they have that elite level style of athleticism is they sometimes don't show up in big moments unless there's a big-time player on the other side of them. And you can't have that. It has a situation where, I think they pretty much call him, he can end up being the biggest bust as it pertains to this draft class when it breaks him down right here. And it's not saying he's going to be.
Right.
But if my job as a coach is to coach you up, fine. I can do that on the field. My job ain't to motivate you. That's the issue.
Not in the NFL.
Not in the NFL.
That's worrisome to me, just for the fact that there are just some things that aren't unteachable, right? You can teach prospects and teach guys with potential and try to have them grow into their potential. Sometimes, to me, that's a nasty habit that you have grown into that becomes a part of your identity as a player. That's really hard then when you've got two scouts kind of saying similar things that they see out of your game. You're right. Yeah, be the best player you can be with the big games, but you have to be the most consistent player at this level. You have no time for taking a game off. And that's a hard habit to break if you've been doing that for a long time.
A guy who's listed on here is 6'7.5", 330 pounds, around a 5'2", and probably be a first or second round pick, probably first more than anything. And to have this said about him is terrible, man. Where is it at in this article, man? He's an athletic freak, but he's just a mental midget.
Ooh, that's a woo.
I've had coaches say this before, mental toughness is also a talent. The way that you run, the way that you jump, the way that you block, the way that you catch footballs and throw the ball through the air. Mental toughness is just as much as important. And again, like I said, when it boils down to how he's described by certain scouts. Now, here's the thing, though, too. With these scouts, they might not be interested in a guy like this, or he just might not be their type. He has all the intangibles that you want, man. He's a top 20 tackle, right? Not a bad kid. You could really hit on him if you're comfortable with the makeup of him. And that, again, is room environment. Okay, how many veterans do you have on your team that's going to train this young man up? What kind of coaching style? What city is he going to? That matters also. But there's so much that happens. But when you watch his tape, as I said in this rundown, and he absolutely dominated Jared Verse, who I think very highly of. That intrigues the heck out of you, but it scares you at the same time, because what are you going to do about the fifth rounder that he has to go up against?
Sure. Absolutely. So we have tasked ourselves to find an off-the-radar NFL draft prospect that we like. I think the disclaimer we give is that we are not NFL draft experts. We are not scouts. We are not people, other than Ramon, who can really break down real film. And again, I've given my pet peeve that watching a YouTube compilation of highlights is not film. Film is watching entire games, good and bad, and everything of the sort. But there are still attributes that I think all of us find that are interesting and storylines that are intriguing. That's what I tried to do in finding an off-the-beaten-path NFL draft prospect I like, is just finding an interesting story of something that I think could be a fit with the Tennessee Titans. So that is what we have done. We each have a name that maybe we have not yet discussed that we will now discuss with you. So who we got? Who do we like off the radar of the NFL draft?
Mine is where I think this team needs some help at, or build some more depth at. And I told you guys off air earlier, but it's Tyler Davis. Out of Clemson, 6'2", 301 is what they have him listed as. He's a nose / he can play from 3 technique to playing over the nose also. What I liked about his tape was this: gets upfield, has ability to always be crashing the pocket as it pertains to how he plays the game. You watch him, he plays the run well. He can also pass rush. He's had years of consistency when it comes down to him getting to the quarterback when healthy. That's his biggest knock right there. He can potentially be rounds 4 through 6, which is a great value for a team like the Titans. He can sometimes get washed because of his size. He's a compact muscle type of dude, and you can see that on tape too with how he gets up. He uses his hands well enough, but he's also have to use them because his arm length I don't think is the longest. And he gets stuck to guys. I'd love to go against a dude like him because here's the thing, especially when he's younger and don't know any better, I can find ways to double team a dude like him because if he can't push me backwards, then I'm going to win this one. But he does consistently. If you look at his tape, moves the defense back. And what I like about him, I'm going to use these catchwords right here. He's got a motor. Okay, he seems to be a lunch pail guy. He's one of those type of dudes. First
so
one,
he's white?
No, he's a black guy. He's a black guy, actually. No, he's a black guy, man. Out of Clemson, highly rated coming out of high school. I think D-tackle help, trying to find it somewhere within the 4th to 6th round will be good for this team. Some have him as a 6th, some have him as a 4th rounder. I like his tape from what I've seen from him in a small sample size as an under-the-radar type of guy that you could draft and get some time out of.
But played in a lot of different spots on that Clemson defensive line. In 2022, he had 119 snaps over the A-gap, 305 snaps over the B-gap, 43 over the tackle, 26 outside the tackle even for Clemson in 2022 when he had 7 sacks. Sack production went down in 2023, only had 2 sacks in 2023, but his run defense grade of 90.8 seems significant. I imagine guys like that, too, who are just good at getting off blocks next to Jeffrey Simmons are going to have success. I would imagine there's a bit of projectability there where you can get a run stopper by trade, but put him next to Jeffrey Simmons, and perhaps that guy is a bit better when next to an interior pass rusher that is so good than they would be, obviously, next to someone who is more of just a run stopper as well.
And they had a good defensive line, too, or defense, and I'm losing his name real quick, too, out of Clemson this year, too. So, to that point, Clemson's always going to have O-line, D-line. That's one of those schools I would go to and say, hey, who you guys got coming out this year?
Yeah, except for Kevin Dodd.
Except for
that one did not work out here.
They did not dodge a bullet here with that one. Yikes.
My bad, Will.
I'm going to go with defensive player. Surprise, surprise. We just got off having a great chat with Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports, and he kind of reiterated the fact that it is very important to build depth at that cornerback position, especially nowadays with the plethora of wide receivers we're seeing come out of college, because they are starting to make it such an important position even in high school with 7-on-7s, and they just are more apt to maybe coming out and having successful rookie seasons straight out of the draft. So the talent is better. So you've got to be able to have that back end covered. And yeah, they've got L'Jarius Sneed and they have Cheeto now, but you've got to continue to have depth at that position. And so I feel like I wanted to go for a realistic pick here, because if they can get a guy a little bit later and a guy possibly like DeCamarion Richardson out of Mississippi State, the cornerback there. SEC guy, which is always a bonus. We've heard Brian Callahan say he likes those big school guys because of the competition you're going up against every single week. He's actually made a ton of top 30 visits, too. Unfortunately, hadn't seen one to the Titans, but Broncos, Jags, Chargers, Browns, Eagles, Niners, Texans, that's a pretty good amount for not a top-end cornerback that's being talked about. This guy has the athletic body type, right? 6'2", 188 pounds, and this guy can also move. Impressive. I think he was like 4.34 in terms of the 40-yard dash, so he can move, especially when it comes down to like, hey, go out there and perform. Like he was able to do that and give that kind of a number. He's played over like 1,700 games, especially in the last 2 years.
Snaps.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, you guys. Snaps.
Boy, as old as
I'm on
dirt,
a mission
dude.
here, right? That guy's like 50 years old. He's been on the field forever. Snaps. Thank you. And especially in the last 2 years, just really getting in those reps, which we've talked about the importance of that too. Just being able to play games and get that experience. He's also been a willing tackler. And we hear about that all the time with some of these guys, maybe having the playmaking abilities, but not being the best tackler. He's been able to do that at that level as well. I think he was ranked maybe 12th among cornerbacks. Yeah, 12th in PFF's grade this past season, which I know it's not the holy grail in terms of PFF, but we refer to it a lot. And I think a lot of the things, they do are pretty spot on. So I think this is a guy who could also play special teams. He has had a lot of snaps at special teams as well. And we've talked about this new kickoff rule. Having a guy that potentially you could put back there, at least try to, he's got that as well. So if you get this guy later on, I kind of think you could score.
Nice.
Looking at how he did at the combine, a 90 percentile for both his 40, the 10-yard split in his 40 and his height. 92 and 95 percentile, respectively.
It's really good.
Bert, you talk a lot with Coach Dave McGinnis about prospects before you talk with us, and you probably know more about the NFL draft than all of us. So I know you have probably more than one off-the-radar name that you like, because half the names you talk to me about, I have never heard of. So who is the one off the radar that you like the most?
This is a guy that I'll state this by saying any guy that we're listing right here, there are things that are wrong with their game. There's a reason they're
100%.
going late in the draft. They're not a complete prospect, but what at least from talking to Coach Dave McGinnis, talking to people who know what they're talking about, you're looking for traits. You're looking for things that can translate and you might be able to build upon at the next level. And for me, that's Tanner Bortolini out of Wisconsin. Over 1,900 snaps at left guard, right guard, center, played right tackle his sophomore year. He's not a tackle, but I do like that he got put out there by his team, especially Wisconsin, a team that prides itself in having really good offensive linemen. More of a neutralizer than a driver, and that shows up in the run game. He's not really going to move anybody off the ball, but he can hold his man. Where he does shine is pass protection. Really good pass pro guy. I think you could put him at anywhere in the center guard triangle. And if you look at how he did at the combine, in the 95 percentile for 40, vertical, shuttle, broad, all of that stuff, but the one that matters, the 3-cone. I think that shows agility, that shows lateral quickness. 7.6, that is 98 percentile. He is a 10 RAS as a center. He is I believe the third, I'll have to look this back up, but the third or fourth guard all time.
33rd guard all time.
That's what it was.
9.78 relative athletic score. His 3-cone of 7.16 is in the 99.9th percentile.
And
when it comes to 3-cone drills.
Like I said, he's not a driver, so I'm not saying to say he's insanely strong, but where he shows up is the quickness, the short area. So a zone blocking team, somebody that could utilize him in space would be really good. You draft a guy in the 5th round, if he is a backup lineman for you, that is a win. That's what you're looking for in the 5th rounds. Guys that can come in and start 2, maybe 3 games when your starter goes down. I love him for that because you lose anybody anywhere on the interior offensive line, he could slide in and play.
See, this is why I love Robert Walsh, because we were talking about turkey grease on your belly the other day. and get you a producer that can do both.
Right.
Please.
Robert Walsh can do both.
You brought up a good point, too, with the players we're talking about. They're still developmental. And I think that's the biggest thing of it all.
And these are all day 2 or 3 prospects that are going to be later round picks that are projects who you see one characteristic or 2 specific characteristics you think you can build on and minimize the weaknesses. And for me, I'm going to go with an inside linebacker. And I love guys in general who change positions in college and have a lot of success doing so, because I think their ceilings can often be a lot higher than a guy who has played a position their entire life and then become an NFL draft prospect. And for me, that's inside linebacker at Ohio State, Steele Chambers, who as a rookie will be 24 years old, product of Roswell, Georgia, who's actually an East Cobb baseball player coming out of his high school days. He also did ballet for 1 year, which he says helps him with his footwork, which is a fun story in Dame Brugler's Beast draft guide on The Athletic. 4-star recruit, received his first scholarship offer after his freshman season from Vanderbilt, and he was a running back for his first 2 years at Ohio State. In fact, he was recruited and he was signed as a running back. I don't just like him because his younger sister runs cross country in college, but that doesn't hurt either. But Steele Chambers is a guy, I think, who is very smart. He is honorable mention all Big Ten in 2023 at Ohio State, led Ohio State in tackles with 83. He's only played linebacker for 3 years. Wow. Yet that first season when he switched from running back to linebacker in 2021, he started the last 4 games of the season for Ohio State that year in 2021, a year after moving back from the running back position. Again, like Kayla said, I think the big school guys, that is going to be a green flag for Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon under their leadership for the Tennessee Titans. He's a day 3 inside linebacker option. He's listed as the number 19 inside linebacker by Dame Brugler. 4.75 in the 40. I just like the ceiling of a guy that has only been playing the linebacker position for 3 years. He's older. Ohio State creates ready-made pros at that position, specifically at inside linebacker. To me, Steele Chambers is a guy to watch as just a smart, everything about him is he's a very intelligent player. He's got too many wasted steps in his pursuit of ball carriers at open field. He's shuffling his feet a bit too much, and he's a bit overzealous in his pursuit of ball carriers. But that is what people way smarter than me who can watch film and have takeaways say. But I like this guy.
You know my big knock on him?
Oh.
He's too pretty.
Is he really?
He is gorgeous. He's got flowing hair, man. Locks
he's got
of hair.
Burt hair.
He blows my hair. My hair might be in like the 70 percentile. His hair is in 95 percentile.
That's fair.
But there is a precedent for what you're saying, right? A linebacker that used to be a running back.
Sure.
Former Jacksonville Jaguar, Steeler, Miles Jack. Who the big knock on him was his health. It wasn't so much his athleticism, but you can see how the traits would transfer from running back to linebacker.
Interesting. Went to Blessed Trinity in Roswell, Georgia. It was actually on the same high school team as Notre Dame inside linebacker J.D. Bertrand, who was also in the draft process. So if you were playing Blessed Trinity about 5 years ago, you were playing Steele Chambers and J.D. Bertrand at inside linebacker.
Not too shabby.
Welcome to Georgia high school football.
Right?
Also might have the best name in the draft.
Steele Chambers.
And that's the other thing.
That's a good one.
I looked for athletic freaks and I looked for cool names. Mm-hmm. Because obviously these are the things that matter.
Like,
I think all of these were pretty legit in terms of.
What did you say?
Ramon has a prospect that he's a fan of that's name is a little crude and childish.
What are you talking about,
You
bro?
gonna share with the rest of the class?
you gotta say it now.
I gotta
this
say
route
it
now.
now. All right, the guy's name is Colson Yankoff.
Coming up.
615-737-1045 is our number. A report on Jaden Daniels to tell you about when we come back. Wrapping up the show on RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and available on the Ramon, Kayla, and Will podcast feed. If you missed Bryant McFadden, if you missed Coach Mack, well, you don't have to miss it. Just go find it wherever you download podcasts. 615-737-1045, the final call for phone calls. Apparently, we have another new uniform thing that has leaked. Sorry, Detroit Lions fans. Your jerseys leaked in a Fanatics ad. Leaked through the USA Today network, apparently. The Lions will have a black jersey now. So there's that.
No way. That's so cold.
Lions will have a black jersey. Here, there's a picture of it. With their numbers, white outline. All of these look cool. I like the trend that's going on in the NFL right now, where everyone is unveiling new jerseys, and they just look like what they would have worn in the mid-'90s.
Sure.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a very good thing. As someone who was born in the mid-'90s, I love the mid-'90s.
They got to do a black helmet with that, though, or it's going to look
you definitely have to. Yeah.
In this tempo somebody drew up, it's with a silver helmet. That looks too similar to the Panthers, in my opinion.
Like a matte black helmet.
Like the Memphis. Have you guys seen the black Memphis ones? Where
I usually try to avoid everything.
You knew where that was going.
Those are tough right there. I'm with you on the
So if Detroit would emulate something like that, I could get down with it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't normally recommend looking anything like Memphis.
Oh, come on, Will. You'll be all right.
I like Ripley. I like West Tennessee. I just don't like Memphis.
Hey, best Tennessee. I got a hat that way tomorrow, by the way.
Tom Pelissero writes that Jaden Daniels is scheduled to have dinner tonight with Vikings brass in Baton Rouge.
Okay, I wonder where they'll go.
Somewhere.
That's my first question.
Yeah, somewhere.
The place I went, the rooftop sushi place I went in Baton Rouge last fall, or 2 falls ago, that had a crawfish California roll.
Ooh.
Highly recommended.
Tasty.
I don't think sushi when you mentioned New Orleans, but now that makes sense. They got right there in the Gulf.
Right there on the Gulf.
Crawfish
we had that question earlier.
California roll.
Whose?
A crawfish on top of a California roll. It was stupendous.
Oh, they're interested.
Yeah, that'd be good. And they're coming to him. Probably want to meet the family, see all that type of stuff happening, man. Good for him, man. He's got a shot. Minnesota, you say?
Yep. Field Yates tweeting out last night, too. When blitzed in 2023, Jaden Daniels, 71% completion percentage, 1,072 yards, and 17 touchdowns to 0 interceptions when blitzed last season. He's pretty good.
Yeah. He's going to be all right.
He'd be thrown to good old Justin Jefferson up there.
Yeah, my opinion of him somewhat got skewed because it was 22 season when we went down there and just beat him like that. And I was just like, oh. And then you realize, no, his tape is hot. Jaden Daniels is all right. We just blitzed him real bad in that game. So, again, I took off my orange tinted glasses and just embraced the fact this dude is a playmaker. He can ball.
He's played some football, too. A lot of it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go touch some grass today.
Not eat it.
You going to touch some grass?
It's a good day to touch grass.
Why is that?
Go outside today. Make a friend. Get some vitamin C.
Oh, you were being serious. Okay.
No, I'm going to go touch some grass. That means go outside.
Yeah. All right. I'll be outside today, too.
I hate how...
like that for?
I hate as the happiness that I have in my golf game right now. I don't need to feel this good about my golf game.
Is that might set you up for a disaster down the road?
Just sign up for a tournament. It'll recoil back into you.
I mean, like the 104.5 The Zone Golf Tournament, May 17th at Greystone Golf Club. Tickets are on sale now at 104.5thezone.com.
I'm so glad you brought that up. You can come see all your favorites from Ramon, Kayla, Will, Buck Rising, Blaine, and Mickey. Everyone will be there.
We bringing you with us this time?
Oh, I think I'm a package deal. I think anywhere that y'all go, I am going to, much like a toddler, I'm going to hang onto your ankles and you're going to drag me there.
Sweet.
I'm in.
Nice workout for me.
Well, I'll give you the pacifier and we're good to go.
Definitely needs a pacifier. That blanket.
Look, this may be a hot take, but I don't think there's anything wrong with a passy.
It'll mess up your teeth.
It will mess up. I don't keep it in all the time. That. I'm just saying, like, if somebody who had an oral fixation with cigarettes, if you were quitting, a passy might not be the worst thing. Like, if you could get I'm going to work on it.
I just got a text from Buddy. Golf today?
Ooh,
yeah, there we go. I'm just enlisting friends to come touch grass with me.
By the way, Yankoff is from my neck of the woods.
Okay, we did not. We did not. No.
Your guy, Colson
We did not mean.
That's good.
We did not need to go back to that. No. That's a perfect time for the outro music. The Buck Rising Show might start at 9:59 this morning. because I'm avoiding any more conversation
Never grow
about
up.
this.
I was never. I mean,
You told Trey Smith not to grow up, but maybe we should. Ramon Foster, for the love of God, send us home.
y'all got to remember at all times, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.